Chapter 1091. Jia Yubian was secretly happy that he and Jia Huoyin had escaped a disaster. Suddenly he felt a shadow over his head. He looked up and saw Xiaoqin glaring at him fiercely. Xiaoqin asked in a cold tone, "Why did Tang Tang suddenly go crazy? Did you secretly tamper with it?" "I didn't." Jia Yubian's eyes darted around, trying to deny it. "It seems that if I don't kill your son today, you won't tell the truth." Xiaoqin didn't wait for him to finish. He immediately condensed the ice ball technique again, strode to the bedside, and was about to slap Jia Huoyin's body. Wait. Xiaoqin, don't do it." Seeing that Xiaoqin's palm was about to hit Jia Huoyin, Jia Yubian was shocked. He quickly took out a black token and said loudly, "This? As long as you hold this token, Tang Tang will listen to your orders. If she is too far away from this token, she will become very violent and uncontrollable." "What if * King Wretch? You don't know pain until you kill her. I'll deal with you after I solve this problem." Xiaoqin immediately reached out and snatched the token. He didn't have time to look at it carefully and ran back with Cheng Menjing. Xiaoqin rushed to Jia Muzin's courtyard, but before he could even enter, he heard the women's exclamations as well as the little girl Xing's muffled groan. Although the sound was very soft, Xiaoqin still heard it clearly. Xiaoqin suddenly realized that the situation was not good. He immediately sped up and rushed into the room. Sure enough, Xing was sitting on the ground with a painful expression. It was obvious that she had just been slapped by Tang Tang. Ling Er and Ling Qianxue were clasping Tang Tang's hands in a flurry. Tian Suruan was hugging Tang Tang's legs tightly. However, their cultivation was too low. Even Tang Tang, who was injured, could not suppress it. Her eyes were out of focus and she looked irritable. Tang Tang struggled hard a few times, and the girls were about to be freed by her. "Get out of the way. Find a safe place to hide." Xiaoqin raised the black token in his hand and rushed over, but he didn't know how to use it. He could only open his arms and hold Tang Tang tightly in his arms. Tang Tang growled a few times at first. When she was held by Xiaoqin, she struggled a few times. But when her body touched the black token, she gradually gave up struggling and slowly calmed down. Feeling that Tang Tang had calmed down, Xiaoqin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, he still held her tightly and did not dare to let go immediately. He signaled Cheng Menjing and the others to check on Xing's injury first, while he continued to pay attention to Tang Tang. When Tang Tang's eyes became hollow again and her body was motionless, Xiaoqin carefully helped her sit back on the bed. "Xing, are you all right? Where was he injured? Let me give you a check." Xiaoqin sat by the bed and waited for a while. Seeing that Tang Tang was leaning against the back of the bed without moving, he made sure that she wouldn't act up again. He got up and walked over. He held Xing Tang's hand and asked with a face full of concern. It's not a big deal. Tang Tang's strength isn't as high as mine, so how could she have injured me? I was just pushed by her and accidentally bumped into the table, so it's just a little painful." Little Miss Xing subconsciously pulled her hand back as she stammered out a reply. Miss Xing felt very embarrassed. This was the second time Xiaoqin had held her hand, and it was in front of so many girls. In the past, she had never done such an intimate action with another man. So, at this moment, her little face was flushed red, and she couldn't even speak properly. "Don't say it so lightly. Tang Tang's body is special, and she has cultivated the 5 poison secret manual. What if you accidentally get poisoned?" Xiaoqin didn't pay much attention and said with a serious face, I'm not poisoned." Xing Tang didn't pull her hand back for a long time and protested in a low voice. Xiaoqin injected a sliver of yuan qi into Xing Tang's body, and after circulating it through her body, he didn't find anything strange. Only then did he relax a bit. Looking at Xing Tang, whose face was almost red, he asked in confusion, "What's wrong with you? Why are you acting like a quail and acting so bashful? Hurry up and tell me where you got injured." "Xiaoqin, don't ask. She doesn't want to say because it's not convenient for a guy to know where she got injured. How can you not even see this? You don't have any eyesight. Your EQ is really worrying." Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes at Xiaoqin and pulled Xing Tang into the room. In the instant that Xing Chick turned around, Xiaoqin used the light shining in from outside the door to finally see an indistinct palm print on her chest. Only then did he understand what was going on. He immediately felt a little awkward. Cheng Menjing ignored Xiaoqin. As they walked, she said to Xing Tang, "Miss Xing, don't bother with that pig Xiaoqin. Hurry up and go back to rest." After that, the two walked into the room. Xiaoqin touched his nose and said to the remaining girls with a smile, "Ling Er Qianxue Sour, are you guys okay? If you got injured by Tang Tang, you must tell me immediately. I'll help you guys heal. Husband Xiao Qin, Sister Sour's chest seems to have been injured by Tang Tang. Hurry up and give me a check. Tian Sour immediately frowned and rubbed the 2 lumps of meat in front of her chest. With a painful expression, she pretended to be weak. Sour, don't mess around. After Xiao Qin told us to get out of the way, you ran faster than a rabbit. Stop pretending. Linger, who was standing next to Tian Suru, giggled. She knocked Tian Suru's head lightly. Every day this girl would think of ways to get Xiao Qin to tease her. They were already used to it. Xiao Qin were not injured. Don't worry. Linger said with a smile. Oh, that's good. You guys go and rest first. I'll look after Tang Tang. Xiao Qin nodded. After sending the girls out of the room, he turned back and sat on the edge of the bed. He looked at Tang Tang, whose eyes were listless, and sighed slightly. Taking out the black token and holding it in his palm, Xiao Qin carefully looked at it to see if there was any mystery in it. Originally, he planned to take the token to Jia Yubian again and interrogate him for other information. However, he was afraid that if he went too far, Tang Tang would go crazy again, so he didn't dare to go too far. After looking at it for a while, Xiao Qin felt that there was nothing special about this token. It was similar to the ebony token he got before entering the inner Wuling, and it should also be made of ebony. Xiao Qin looked at it again and again, but to no avail. He tried to inject a stream of primordial qi into the token, and he found something new. Chapter 1092. There was an existence similar to a space in the token. In that space there was a utensil-like thing floating. The utensil-like thing contained a little liquid. From a distance, it looked bright red like human blood. However, Xiao Qin was not too sure. Withdrawing his primordial qi, Xiao Qin frowned and looked at the black token. He felt that this thing was really evil. With it, he could control a living person and order her to do whatever he wanted. Moreover, the appearance of this token did not seem to contain any technological content. It was just an ordinary piece of wood. It looked ugly and harmless. However, although the black token was not amazing, Xiao Qin did not dare to damage it directly. If it was damaged, not only could he not get rid of the control, but the situation would become more serious. That would be troublesome. Elder Heaven Ancestor, have you seen this kind of token? Is there any way to break the restriction of this token? Xiao Qin was really at his wit's end. He could only ask Elder Heaven Ancestor for help, hoping that he could give him some advice this time. Well, I'm not sure yet. Although this token looks very ordinary, it seems to vaguely reveal an evil aura. However, it is not like the kind emitted by evil cultivators, so I can't make a conclusion. Elder Heaven Ancestor pondered for a while and replied cautiously. Obviously he was not good at this kind of thing. Is there no way to solve it? Xiao Qin scratched his head and murmured with a distressed face. Master, I remember. Just as Xiao Qin was thinking hard, and Xiaoma suddenly shouted excitedly. And Xiaoma could not recall it before, but when he saw the black token, some memory fragments that he had seen and experienced before suddenly flashed in his mind. There seemed to be something similar in those memories. What did you remember? Hurry up and say it. Xiao Qin asked eagerly. Once again confirming the fragments in his memory, and Xiaoma inferred word by word, as far as I know, this token should store a drop of Miss Tang's blood essence. It is used to establish a blood connection with her brain like a remote control. Does that mean that if I take out that drop of blood essence I can remove the control? Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows and looked at the token in his hand, calculating how he could completely destroy the space inside the token. Probably not. And Little Demon's voice was a little regretful. The token is just a medium of control. The key is to dissolve the biochemical agent she took so that she can truly return to her original appearance. This is actually so troublesome? Is there no other way? Xiao Qin frowned. Looking at Tang Tang, who was resting with her eyes closed, he proposed his own idea. For example, can heavenly materials and earthly treasures or the vitality of cultivators force the biochemical drugs out of Tang Tang's body? At this time, Xiao Qin had cursed the person who invented this biochemical drug hundreds of times in his heart, as well as Tang Qianling, that idiot. If it wasn't because he wanted to practice the 5 Poisons secret book, Tang Tang wouldn't have become like this. I'm not sure about this, but in my memory this kind of drug works in the human brain. If it is forced out by vitality, it is not impossible, but I'm afraid Miss Tang's brain will be damaged. If it is serious, it may even endanger her life. Master, you also know that the human brain is actually very fragile. And Xiaoma said helplessly. He also wanted to help, but the reality of the situation was there, and Xiaoma was helpless. Forget it. I can't take this risk. I'd better go to the Tang family in person after I have dealt with the matter. Xiao Chen thought for a long time and finally shook his head. No matter how confident he was in his strength, he couldn't risk Tang Tang's life. Putting the black token into his pocket, Xiao Chen reached out to help Tang Tang tidy up her messy hair. Then he sat cross-legged on the edge of the bed and began to practice, while planning to go to the Tang family in his mind. Outside a villa in Songning City, a cute girl with bulging breasts stood in front of the door of the villa with 2 big bags of luggage. She took out the key and skillfully opened the door of the villa. Then she threw the luggage on the ground and swaggered in with a smile. Oh, Cousin Menjing. Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law. I Jin Beibei am fat. Cough cough. Cough cough cough. Jin Beibei had just stepped into the door, but before she took 2 steps she was choked by the dust and coughed violently. The 2 large lumps of meat on her chest were also shivering. What the hell? What's going on here? Why is there so much dust in the villa? Jin Beibei hurried to cover her mouth and ran out of the door in a hurry. Breathing the fresh air, she whispered, "My cousin and cousin-in-law are too lazy, aren't they? Damn it. They did not even clean the villa when I was not home." The door of the villa was opened for ventilation. It was not until a long time later that the flying dust in the air finally dispersed. Jin Beibei took out a mask and put it on before she walked in carefully. However, what she saw in the villa gave her a great shock. Holy *T. What's going on here? Looking at the thick dust on the ground, which even covered the furniture and the electric appliances, and even had spider webs in several places, Jin Beibei was more or less stunned. She tried to call out, "Cousin? Cousin-in-law, are you there?" Jin Beibei's call failed to summon Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing, but a lot of dust that had been stuck to the wall was shaken off. She almost choked again. Jin Beibei took a few steps back and mumbled in surprise, "Seriously? I've only been gone for 1 year. Has the Qing family gone bankrupt? Has cousin Menjing's villa been seized too?" Suddenly thinking of such a possibility, Jin Beibei hurried to run out of the villa and looked at the door. "That's not right. There is no seal on the door, is there? Miss, may I ask if you are the owner of this villa?" Jin Beibei was still staring at the door in a daze when a man's voice suddenly echoed behind her and asked cautiously. "Of course I am." Jin Beibei immediately replied. Then, she turned around and looked at the source of the voice hopefully, only to discover that it was a security guard who was standing not far away timidly. "That's good. Well." The security guard was about to say something when Jin Beibei interrupted and asked, "Right? Where are the people in the villa? Where are cousin Menjing and cousin Xiao Chen's husband? Did they elope? Also, Invincible Dog is not home either. I thought that I had entered the wrong parallel universe, or that the villa was haunted." "Oh, I'm not sure about that either." Jin Beibei's rapid-fire questions stunned the security guard. He could not answer any of them and could only shake his head helplessly. Chapter 1093. Jin Beibei sniffed and said angrily, "You don't even know where the tenants are. You don't have the slightest spirit of a contract. Miss, as far as I know, this villa has been empty for more than a year. Also, a lot of property fees and management fees are in arrears. Since you are the owner and you are here, you should pay the fees as soon as possible." The security guard wiped his sweat and finally stated his purpose. Then he took out a stack of receipts from his pocket and handed them over to Jin Beibei. He happened to be patrolling nearby. Seeing that Jin Beibei was standing in front of the villa with the gate open, he had come to collect the money. "What nonsense is this?" Jin Beibei frowned and did not take the receipts from the security guard. Thinking for a moment, she said, "I don't have so much cash on me. How about this? You can take any car in the garage and find a few people to help clean the place. Look, this place is too dirty. How can anybody live in it?" While talking, Jin Beibei pressed the button of the garage. After the garage door slowly rose, she pointed at the few sports cars inside. "Oh, I think that's unnecessary. Why don't you pay the money at the property management when it's convenient for you? In fact, there's no need to rush." The security guard looked at the garage subconsciously and was greatly shocked. He quickly waved his hands. "You must be kidding. The garage was full of high-end sports cars worth millions. How could an insignificant security guard like him dare to take them?" He merely looked at them and ran away in a hurry. "Why are you running? I won't bite you. You haven't answered my question yet," Jin Beibei shouted. Seeing that the security guard was running faster and faster like a rabbit, she felt somewhat helpless. She was supposed to study in the Heavenly Spring sect for 3 years and would not return until she finished her studies. But after she went there, she was quite obedient in the beginning and did not cause any trouble. But after she became familiar with the people in the sect, she began to act more and more unscrupulously. Originally, there were a few sect disciples who saw that she was not bad-looking. Moreover, she had a child's face and a huge chest, so they had lustful thoughts towards her and wanted to get intimate with her. However, the result was very obvious. In the end, all of them were made to complain incessantly. However, Jean Bebe was born smart, and the leader of the Heavenly Spring faction spoiled her a lot. Therefore, when those disciples complained to the leader, she was not punished at all. Instead, those disciples were scolded. 1 year passed in the blink of an eye. Jean Bebe felt that it was too boring to stay in the sect all the time. Therefore, she went to the leader of the sect and applied for a long vacation to visit her family. She returned to reunite with Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing. But she didn't expect that when Jean Bebe came back excitedly, what awaited her was an empty building. It's so strange. I can't get through to my cousin and cousin-in-law. Even Yi Xiaoya isn't in the villa. Did they go abroad to have a threesome? Jean Bebe dialed the phone for a long time, but in the end she still pressed the hang-up button in frustration and speculated maliciously. Cheng Menjing, who was cleaning Miss Xing's wound, suddenly sneezed. She was confused. Did I catch a cold? Aren't cultivators immune to illness? Jean Bebe stood outside of the villa and thought for a while. Then she browsed through the address book and found another number to call. Hello? Chao Yuliang, right? Do you know where my cousin and cousin-in-law are? What? You don't know? Why? Hello. Lu Zhiming, have you seen my cousin and cousin-in-law? They are Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing. You don't know them either? What kind of lackey are you? Why? Hello. Is this Zheng Xiaoquan? I am Jean Bebe. Have you seen my cousin and cousin-in-law? She made quite a few calls, but everybody said the same thing. None of them knew where Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were. Jean Bebe was somewhat disappointed. It had not been easy for her to come back, but the two of them were nowhere to be seen. They did not even leave a note. Where was she supposed to find them? Sitting on the stairs in a daze for a while, Jean Bebe suddenly remembered that Xiao Chen seemed to have gone to Hong's pharmacy a lot in the past to buy medicine. He was also quite close to a girl named Hong Zhu. Chances were that she could go there and ask around. Jean Bebe immediately stood up and took out her luggage from the villa. She ran to the garage and got into her nouveau riche, Jean Bebe's car, ready to go to Hong's pharmacy to inquire about the situation. However, to Jean Bebe's surprise, she could not start Jean Bebe's car at all after she started it for a long time. After a brief examination, Jean Bebe discovered that the battery of the Panamera had run out of power because it had not been used for a long time. Could not be started at all. Having no other choice, Jean Bebe could only carry the luggage back to the villa. Although there were other sports cars parked in the garage, judging from the condition of the Panamera, she estimated that they could not be used either. Therefore, she did not bother to give it a try. After locking the gate of the villa, Jean Bebe walked to Hong's pharmacy. Thankfully, she had been training in the Heavenly Spring sect for a while and was more or less a cultivator now. Although her level was not very high, it was not a problem for her to walk several kilometers. Hello. What kind of medicine are you looking for? Hardly had Jean Bebe walked into Hong's pharmacy when a young clerk greeted her warmly. Jean Bebe looked around first and found nobody else in the store. She had no choice but to turn around and ask the clerk, "Oh, I'm not looking for medicine. I just want to ask if your Miss Hong Zhu is here?" The young clerk was immediately dazed. She eyed Jean Bebe up and down warily before she asked cautiously, "May I know who you are? What can I do for Miss Hong Zhu? She is not in the pharmacy right now. If it is nothing important, you can just tell me. I can pass the message to her for you later." Not here either? What a coincidence. Jean Bebe frowned and mumbled helplessly. "All right. Please pass the message to her for me that Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing have gone missing. My name is Jean Bebe. If she knows where they are, contact me as soon as possible. Oh, this is my phone number." After saying that, Jean Bebe picked up the prescription paper on the counter and picked up a pen. She wrote down a number quickly and handed it to the clerk. Then she turned around planning to leave. "Wait, Jean. Miss Jean. The Xiao Chen you mentioned just now, is he a guy who often comes to our pharmacy to buy medicine?" The young clerk was dazed for a moment when she heard Xiao Chen's name. She hurried to run out from behind the counter and stopped Jean Bebe, who had already walked to the door of the pharmacy. Yes. Have you met my cousin-in-law? Has he come to buy medicine recently? Where did he go?" Jean Bebe stopped moving with a pleasantly surprised expression, and she asked repeatedly. Chapter 1094. I haven't seen Xiao Chen before, but Lord Hongying? Lord Hongzhu had specifically instructed that if Hero Xiao Chen were to come here to buy or sell medicine, he would be given a great discount. So, I'm guessing that she and Xiao Chen are very good friends. The shop assistant's expression was a little excited, and the way he addressed Hongzhu also rose to a higher level. His tone was filled with awe. It was obvious that this person was also a member of Hong Ying's team. Alas, of course I know that. Seriously, you made me happy for nothing. Forget it, you should contact Hongzhu first. I'm leaving. Jean Bebe waved her hand helplessly. The information from the shop assistant was worthless now. She had originally thought that Hongzhu would know the whereabouts of Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing, but she had not expected to come up empty-handed again. Alright, please take care. If you manage to contact Madame Hongying, I'll tell her about this as soon as possible. Watching Jean Bebe leave, the shop assistant bowed and said respectfully. Standing outside the drugstore for a long time, Jean Bebe was completely speechless. On her way to the drugstore, she had called Xin Jingxian and Yi Xiaoye, but their phones were not in the service area either. That's really strange. Could it be that all of them had disappeared? Cousin-in-law. Cousin. Where the hell did you guys go? Bebe can't find you guys anymore. In her depression, Jean Bebe raised her head and shouted, drawing the attention of many passers-by. Many lustful eyes even glanced at her breasts. Taxi. After venting her anger, Jean Bebe took a few deep breaths and made up her mind. She immediately waved her hand and shouted. A taxi quickly stopped beside her. After getting in, Jean Bebe skillfully told the driver the address of the Cheng family. The driver nodded, stepped on the accelerator and sped away. Since she could not find anyone right now, Jean Bebe could only visit the Cheng family first. Perhaps her cousin Menjing was in the Cheng family? Or maybe the Cheng family knew where her cousin had gone. If she could find Cheng Menjing, she would certainly be able to find Xiao Chen. Jean Bebe did not choose to visit the Cheng family immediately because her first impression of the Cheng family was not very good. When Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were together, the Cheng family had been trying to stop them. Therefore, she did not want to go there from the bottom of her heart. Right now, she had no other choice. After she arrived at the Cheng family, Jean Bebe paid the fare in a hurry and went to Old Master Cheng Tianxiu and Cheng Zhongming, Cheng Menjing's father, in a hurry to ask them about Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing. However, Jean Bebe's hopes were dashed again. The two of them did not know anything either. They only knew that Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing had gone missing mysteriously after the chaos in the Kuei Mountain sect, and there had been no news about them at all. The Cheng family had sent out spies too, trying to find them. However, the traces of the two of them were like stones sinking into the ocean. There was not the slightest valuable clue. After bidding farewell to Cheng Tianxiu and Cheng Zhongming in disappointment, Jean Bebe walked out of the Cheng family absent-mindedly and stood at the gate in a daze. There was only one place left for Jean Bebe to ask around, which was the Xiao clan. If she could not find Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing there, or if she could get any news about them, she would have to return empty-handed. She would have to end her family visit early and return to the Heavenly Spring sect. Grandpa Xiao, Uncle Xiao, nice to meet you. After arriving at the Xiao family, Jean Bebe walked into the Xiao family's living room in a hurry. She happened to see Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai discussing something. Jean Bebe hurried to greet them as if they were her family. Bebe? Long time no see. Didn't you go to the Heavenly Spring sect to train with your grandpa? I'm told that you can only come back after 3 years of training. I don't think the time is up yet. Why are you back so soon? Xiao Yuanshan was dazed for a moment. He joked, you didn't drive you away because you burned the beard of the leader, did you? No. The leader likes me very much. I asked for leave this time. Jean Bebe, on the other hand, was not in the mood to joke. After explaining, she asked in a hurry, Grandpa Xiao, Uncle Xiao, you happen to be here. Let me ask you, do you know where brother-in-law Xiao Chen and cousin Menjing have gone? I've asked everywhere after I came back, but there is no news about them. Hearing the names of Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing, Xiao Yuanshan's face changed. He sighed and shook his head. In fact, we are looking for them too. The two of them have been missing for a year, and we haven't even called them. As it turned out, before Jean Bebe came, Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai had been discussing anxiously where they should start to look for Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing. Years ago, Xiao Feng went missing for no reason, and the Cheng family was also involved. It was a heavy blow to the Xiao family. Had it not been for the sudden rise of Xiao Chen, the Xiao family might not have been able to recover from the setback and vanished in the river of history. But now Xiao Feng had not been found yet, and Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing had gone missing. Xiao Yuanshan was already very old. His old body could not withstand the pain of losing his son and possibly losing his grandson and granddaughter-in-law anymore. Therefore, Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai agreed that they had to find Xiao Qin and Cheng Minjing no matter what. Oh, they've been missing for so long? No wonder the villa is full of dust. Jean Bebe was greatly surprised. It was not until then that she realized the seriousness of the problem. She had thought that the two of them had gone on a trip. We tried to find them too, but there was no news at all. Xiao Hai looked rather helpless. Although the Xiao family's business was developing steadily, the house did not seem very lively. Jean Bebe considered for a moment and asked Xiao Yuanshan, "Grandpa Xiao, may I ask when was the last time you saw my cousin and her husband? Did they leave any messages or signals?" After facing the fact that Xiao Qin and Cheng Minjing had gone missing, Jean Bebe did not want to let go of any clues. Therefore she asked very carefully. "In fact, I learned it from Cheng Tianqiu. Minjing was almost bullied in the Kuei Mountain sect. Xiao Qin pissed off the leader of the Kuei Mountain sect because he wanted to save her. A Wulin hunting order was issued, and they were never heard from again," Xiao Yuanshan narrated slowly with a gloomy face. "What? A Wulin hunting order? Doesn't it mean that my cousin and her husband are dead?" Jean Bebe could not help but be shocked when she heard the name. When she was in the Heavenly Spring sect, she had heard about such a Wulin hunting order too. The two parties would not stop until one of them was dead. Jean Bebe could not help but frown deeply, worried about the safety of the two of them. Chapter 1095. However, I heard that for some reason, the Quishan sect cancelled the kill order. Seeing Jean Bebe's expression, Xiao Yuanshan hurriedly added, "The key is their sect master. I don't know how he mysteriously died. Although there are various rumors, from my intuition Xiao Qin and Cheng Minjing should still be safe for now." Xiao Yuanshan was in the secular world, and his information channels were limited. It was not easy for him to find out this much, and he could only speculate based on the information he already had. Jean Bebe was still digesting this news when Xiao Hai looked at his watch and said softly to Xiao Yuanshan, "Father, it's almost time. There is an important agenda in the company in the afternoon, and according to the plan we discussed before, we have to arrange for people to find Xiao Qin. Do you think we should go?" Although the Xiao family had exhausted almost all of their financial resources and manpower to search for Xiao Qin, they also had to maintain the normal operations of the company. Otherwise, a large-scale search would drag down the entire family, and it would be impossible for them to have an endless supply of funds behind them. "Well, you go and find Xiao Xiao first." Xiao Yuanshan nodded and looked at his watch. He stood up and said apologetically, "Bebe, your Uncle Xiao and I have to go to the company first. We have some business to deal with. Xiao Xiao and you are of the same generation, so you should have more common topics to talk about. When she comes, you guys can talk first. Don't leave tonight, stay here and have a meal." "Okay, I won't be polite with you, Grandpa Xiao. It's been a long time since I've eaten the food of the mortal world. Heavenly Spring sect is such a poor and desolate place that even a piece of meat is hard to come by. I've been craving it for the past year." Jean Bebe did not refuse and gladly agreed. Anyway, she had no place to go now. At least she felt more comfortable in the Xiao family, and didn't have to worry too much. Although Jean Bebe used to dislike Xiao Xiao in front of the elders, she would not easily show it. After waiting in the living room for a while, Xiao Xiao followed Xiao Hai out. Her footsteps were a little sluggish, and her complexion was very poor. She had 2 big dark circles under her eyes, and looked like she had not slept well for many days. "You two talk first. We're going to the company to do something. We'll be back before dinner." Xiao Hai knew that Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao could be considered acquaintances, so he didn't introduce them too much. After giving a few simple instructions and nodding at Jean Bebe, he got into the car with Xiao Yuanshan and left the Xiao family. "Long time no see, Bebe. How have you been?" Xiao Xiao, who looked tired, forced a smile and said, "You've cultivated in the Heavenly Spring sect for a year. You must have become a powerful expert, right?" Xiao Xiao and Jean Bebe didn't have much of a friendship, so she didn't know what to talk about. However, as the host, she couldn't treat her guest too coldly, so she just casually greeted her. "Oh, what's so good about it?" "Just like that. It's rare for me to come back, but I can't even find my cousin and cousin-in-law." Jean Bebe spread her hands and added absent-mindedly, "Also, I've only been cultivating for a year. I'm just a martial artist right now. I can take care of a few hooligans, but I'm not that good." "Who says you're not?" When Xiao Xiao, who was originally tired, heard this, she seemed to have found her soul. Her spirits were lifted and she sighed again. Shaking her head, she said, "My brother has mysteriously disappeared for an entire year. He doesn't even know how to call home. He doesn't even reply to my emails. I'm so worried. Ever since Xiao Chen went missing, Xiao Xiao had been sending him emails almost every week. However, it was like a rock sinking into the ocean. Xiao Xiao tossed and turned in bed every day, unable to sleep at night. She had lost a lot of weight. So you're still worried about my brother-in-law, Xiao Chen? I thought you couldn't wait for him to not come back. Back when he was down and out, you didn't treat him well either. Now you're worried about his safety. The script is quite ironic. Jean Bebe glanced at Xiao Xiao and curled her lips. She was clearly disdainful of such behavior. I think you've misunderstood. Xiao Xiao was not angered by Jean Bebe's mockery. She continued to speak calmly. Back then, the Cheng family secretly plotted against our Xiao family and chased my brother out of the family. I had no choice at the time, so I deliberately distanced myself from him. However, it was mainly to protect my brother. After all, he's the only male in the Xiao family's generation. What? Are you serious? Back at school you were flirting with Qi Zhigao. Then you ran off to flirt with Cheng Mingqiang. You even ostracized my brother-in-law Xiao Chen. I still remember it all. Now that you're saying that, why do I feel like you did it on purpose? Jean Bebe was very surprised to hear this for the first time. She asked in doubt. Although Xiao Zhao's expression did not seem like she was lying, how could she explain what she had done back then? Jean Bebe could not help but feel perplexed. Do you think I wanted to do that? Xiao Xiao explained with a wry smile. If I had a good relationship with my brother back then, what would the Qing family think when they saw it? They would definitely be more eager to harm my brother. So, I could only keep my distance from him on the surface and act like I hated him. Only then would the Qing family let down their guard. Oh, that does make sense. Jean Bebe scratched her head and rubbed her chin as she recalled. I was wondering why many of your actions back then seemed so deliberate. It was like you were doing it on purpose. I thought you were disgusted with my brother-in-law. In order to prevent my brother from being harmed by the Qing family, I could only sacrifice myself and get close to that guy, Cheng Mingqiang. At the same time, I wanted to get some insider information and then secretly tell my brother like a spy. Xiao Xiao did not know whether to laugh or cry as she recalled the scene. She added, also, I don't have a good impression of Qi Zhigao. He was the one who approached me. Oh, so that's how it is. Looks like I've misunderstood you. I'm sorry. Jean Bebe nodded. Her dissatisfaction toward Xiao Xiao finally faded a lot. She suddenly remembered that Xiao Chen had indeed mentioned that he had received an email warning from a stranger. However, she did not expect it to be Xiao Xiao behind his back. It's fine. We were all thinking about Xiao Chen's safety. My actions are indeed very displeasing, so I won't blame you. That's my original intention, so it's normal for you to misunderstand, Xiao Xiao said calmly. She did not mind at all, or else she would not have chosen this path in the first place. Chapter 1096. That's good. Jean Bebe walked to the table and sat down. She did not treat herself as an outsider and poured a cup of tea for herself skillfully. She had been busy the whole day and had been running around everywhere. She did not even have time to drink water. She finally felt a little tired. Xiao Xiang stayed silent for a while, then asked, "Oh right, Bebe, when you were training in the Heavenly Spring faction, did you hear any news about my brother?" "I didn't. The Heavenly Spring sect is just a small, remote sect. They don't have a good information network. Moreover, I didn't expect them to disappear all of a sudden. So, I focused on my training and didn't purposely ask about it." Jean Bebe stuck her tongue out in embarrassment. The days in the Heavenly Spring faction were actually very boring. Jean Bebe was either training or running errands. Otherwise, she would bully those disciples who were not brave enough to do it. Therefore, she did not pay much attention to what was going on in the outside world. Sigh, all right. Then let's think of another way. It's impossible for two living people to just disappear without a trace. There must be some traces left behind. Xiao Xiao also sat down on the other side of the table and said while holding her chin. Xiao Xiao felt that there were many ways to find Xiao Chen now that technology was so advanced. She just needed time to implement them. The two of them put their heads together and studied for a long time. They made many guesses about the whereabouts of Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing. They thought of countless ways to rescue them, but in the end they still had no idea how to start. They couldn't help but feel disappointed when they found the two of them first. After discussing for a long time, they came to the conclusion that their only hope at the moment was to wait for Hongzhu's call. Apart from that, they had no other way of obtaining any other information. After all, Hongzhu could be considered as someone from the outer world, so he should have more sources of information. As for the Xiao family in the secular world, they could only judge the veracity of the news through the grapevine. After having dinner with Xiao family, Xiao Xiao volunteered to drive Jean Bebe back to the villa since her luggage was in the villa. She even told the seniors that she would also stay with Jean Bebe in the villa so that they could keep each other company. Of course, Xiao Yuanshan and the others agreed immediately. When they arrived at the villa, the two women first cleaned up the place. By the time they cleaned up the living room, rooms and toilets, it was already late at night. They randomly found 2 rooms to stay in. Xiao Xiao chose the room that Xiao Qin used to live in. Although Jean Bebe found it a little strange, she did not want to fight with Xiao Qin over there, considering that Xiao Xiao was Xiao Chen's sister. Therefore, she could only settle for the second best and went to live in Qing Menjing's room. While Jean Bebe was worrying and tossing and turning in bed, a different scene was taking place in the study of the Tang family's young master. Tang Qianling was standing in front of the window with his phone pressed to his ear. He nodded slightly from time to time as if he was talking to someone on the phone. Tang Qianqi was standing behind him. At this moment, this fellow was bending over with a flattering expression on his face, and he seemed ready to serve the young patriarch at any moment. Well, you've done a good job in the past few times, but I'm still seriously short of resources recently. I'm in dire need of more experiment subjects. You should work harder and persuade more people to come over. When the project succeeds, you will certainly be rewarded. Tang Qianling listened to the phone for a while and said in an encouraging tone. Then he reminded the other party of something else before he hung up the phone. Hardly had he hung up the phone when Tang Qianling's face turned extremely cold. His gentle and encouraging face a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. He seemed to be a completely different person from when he was talking on the phone. Tang Qianqi seemed to be used to the young patriarch's sudden change of expression. He did not think it was a big deal at all. Instead, he picked up a cup of ginseng tea from the tray respectfully and put it on the table carefully. After Tang Qianling sat down, Tang Qianqi finally opened his mouth and said with a smile, "Young Master Ling, is the boy that I found for you okay? It has only been a few days and so many people have been sent to you. I estimate that the experiment over there will be a great success before long." It's just so. Tang Qianling picked up the cup and took a sip. Only then did the expression on his face relax slightly. He leisurely shook his legs, but his eyes were still extremely cold. He said lightly, "But after it's done, this person must be killed. Do you know what to do?" Putting down the cup, Tang Qianling slowly made a gesture of slitting his neck. Tang Qianqi nodded again and said with a smirk, "Hee, I know. You can rest assured that I'll take care of this matter. Alright, then you should rest early. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first, okay?" "Well, go back." Tang Qianling waved his hand casually. He turned around and tapped on the computer a few times. Looking at the long form opened on the monitor, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. After Tang Qianqi left, Tang Qianling played computer games for a while. However, he lost several rounds in a row. He angrily cursed his stupid teammates in the game and lost the mood to play anymore. He stretched his waist, stood up, and walked to his bedroom. "Surname Tang, you're living a good life." Just as Tang Qianling stepped into the bedroom, he suddenly heard a man's deep voice coming from behind him. Tang Qianling was shocked and immediately turned around. However, there was no one behind him. He looked around the study and everything was the same as before. There was no change at all. Could it be that he was hallucinating? Tang Qianling was puzzled. Suddenly he felt someone pat his shoulder from behind. Tang Qianling quickly turned around, only to see a vaguely familiar face standing in front of him with a smirk on his face. "Tsk. You're the young master of the Tang family with your cultivation? If it weren't for me Xiao Qin being lenient, you would have been dead by now." Xiao Qin curled his lips and sneered disdainfully. You're Xiao Qin?" Tang Qianling was stunned and asked hesitantly. He had only seen Xiao Qin once or twice before, so he didn't have much of an impression of him. However, seeing this situation, his face still darkened. "What are you doing here? Also, how did you get into my room?" "Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I'm just here to ask you a few questions." Xiao Qin squinted at Tang Qianling and said faintly, "If you can cooperate with me honestly, I naturally won't make things difficult for you. However, if you have any delusions that you shouldn't have and try to resist, or shout loudly to summon the guards, then I won't be polite with you. You can try to see if your voice is faster or my hands are faster. Do you understand?" In fact, when Tang Qianling was on the phone, Xiao Qin had already sneaked into his bedroom. However, Tang Qianqi was also there just now. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Xiao Qin decided to wait until the guy left before showing himself. Chapter 1097. Xiao Qin, aren't you being a little too confident? Tang Qianling did not take Xiao Qin seriously at all. He laughed arrogantly and said, "Do you really think that I'm like that good-for-nothing Jia Huoyin, who needs help from others for everything?" Before he could finish his sentence, Tang Qianling quickly circulated his mental cultivation and displayed the cultivation of a martial king at the peak of the martial king realm. Soon after, a black mist was released from his body and gradually condensed on his arms. "Hey, why is there so much black smoke coming from your body? Are you trying to perform a magic trick? Are you going to witness a miracle soon? Don't tell me that you couldn't hold it in after eating the sweet potatoes in the morning?" Xiao Qin covered his nose exaggeratedly and did not plan to attack. He stood there and stared coldly at Tang Qianling. Tang Qianling was unmoved. He harumphed and said, "You should feel lucky. Ever since I've learned the 5 Poisons secret manual, I've been worried that no one would be my practice target. Who would have thought that you'd come knocking on my door today? Congratulations, you're the first soul to die after I've mastered the divine art. Go to hell." As the last sentence left his mouth, Tang Qianling's body trembled and he instantly absorbed all the black mist on his arms into his palms. His palms turned pitch black in an instant before he slammed them toward Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin stood there leisurely and watched Tang Qianling's palms with a faint smile. He had no intention of dodging at all. Tang Qianling's eyes lit up with joy. This kid is so arrogant. He remembered that Xiao Qin was only a level 1 martial highness. Not dodging or dodging with such a small difference in strength was no longer confidence, it was arrogance. And arrogance would only bring death. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Tang Qianling felt that he had injected all the poison into Xiao Qian's body. He was overjoyed and immediately raised his head to see if Xiao Qian's face was turning blue and bleeding from all his orifices. Was he about to die from the poison? However, when he looked up, he saw that Xiao Qian was still smiling at him as if nothing had happened. Tang Qianling was a little surprised. Could it be that the poisonous gas would only take effect after a while? However, Xiao Qian didn't seem to feel any discomfort at all. Xiao Qian finally reacted. He frowned and waved his hand to wipe off the black mist on his clothes. He looked at Tang Qianchi impatiently and said, "I say, don't tell me you have a special sexual orientation and are interested in men? Otherwise, why do you like to reach out and touch my chest? Look, you even dirted my clothes. This set of clothes is custom-made, personally made by a master tailor. It's very expensive." What? How could you be completely fine? That's impossible. Tang Qianling was finally stunned and he couldn't help but blurt out. Could it be that there was a problem with the secret book of 5 poisons that he cultivated? That's not right. Tang Tang and Tian Yoshi had both tested it. In theory, there shouldn't be any mistakes. However, the most important problem at present was not to solve the secret book of 5 poisons, but that someone was staring at him covetously. Tang Qianling's mind was racing, but he still maintained a shocked and puzzled look on his face. He circulated his qi in his dantian and wanted to hit out another palm. At the same time, he shouted for help so that Xiao Qian couldn't pay attention to both sides. Just as Tang Qian made up his mind and was about to carry out his plan, he felt a wave of energy rushing towards him. Alarmed, he hurriedly prepared to defend himself. However, before he could raise his hand, his neck was strangled. What? You can't beat me, so you want to call for help? Have you forgotten what I told you just now? If you want to summon the guards, why don't you give it a try? Let's see if your voice is faster or my hands are faster. Xiao Qian's face was as cold as frost. He used all his strength to lift Tang Qianling up. Ahem. I didn't. Tang Qianling's face turned red and he looked panicked. But he was still gathering black gas in his palm. He wanted to hit Xiao Qian again when he was unprepared. Bang. Before Tang Qianling could hit out with his palm, Xiao Qian swung his hand and directly threw him out. He smashed heavily into a bookshelf in the corner, and the whole bookshelf was smashed into pieces. Ouch. Tang Qianling felt that all his internal organs had been shaken out of place, and he let out a cry of pain. He lay on the ground for a long time, unable to recover his senses. I say, you idiot, what kind of lousy martial arts are you practicing? Other than dirtying other people's clothes, it doesn't seem to have any power. Xiao Qian walked over with large strides, pulled Tang Qianling up once again, and ruthlessly punched him in the stomach. Ouch! Tang Qianling howled, and before he could react, Xiao Qian grabbed his head and knocked it with his knee. Tang Qianling's nose and mouth immediately spurted out blood, and his whole face was a bloody mess. His howl was also stuck in his throat, and he couldn't finish shouting. Are you learning from Bei Bei? Why do you keep howling for no reason? Other people learn it for fun, but you learn it to attract the she-wolf. Xiao Qin said fiercely. He didn't know why, but he suddenly missed Jean Bebe. He wondered how this little girl was doing recently. Oh, I really don't. Tang Qianling gasped in pain and tried to explain. Who was Bebe? He didn't know him at all, so how could he learn? However, Xiao Qin still didn't intend to stop. He continued to punch and kick Tang Qianling, and every punch hit the flesh. However, Xiao Qin deliberately didn't use his primordial qi, because he didn't want to kill Tang Qianling directly. He had other uses for Tang Qianling, and he was purely venting his anger. Don't hit me anymore. I won't call for help. Spare me. After beating him up for a while, Xiao Qin finally loosened his grip. Tang Qianling vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed on the ground. He waved his hands repeatedly and begged for mercy in a hoarse voice. At this time, Tang Qianling's body was already black and blue. He supported himself with his hands on the ground and moved to the corner of the room with difficulty, trying to stay away from the devil Xiao Qin as far as he could. Tang Qianling was really a little depressed. He clearly remembered that he had used 10% of his strength and struck Xiao Qin with his palm, but he was still fine up until now. He was completely fine, and there were no signs of him being poisoned. What was going on? TSK. You can't take it anymore after just a few hits? When you tortured Tang and drugged her for experiments, did you ever consider her feelings? Xiao Qin released his pressure and walked toward Tang Qianling step by step with a very cold expression. Tang? Tang Qianling finally understood that Xiao Qin was standing up for that girl. At this time he was full of regret and hurried to apologize. I didn't know that she was related to you. In fact, she didn't suffer much. She was born with a poisonous body and I didn't even touch her. Chapter 1098. Oh, so you're saying that I should be thanking you? Xiao Qin walked in front of Tang Qianling. His expression was gentle and amiable, but his words were full of sarcasm, sending chills down one's spine. No, that's not what I meant. Tang Qianling was on the verge of tears. No matter what he said, he was in the wrong. Looking at Xiao Qin's posture, was he going to beat him to death? Seeing Tang Qianling trembling like a sieve, Xiao Qin sneered, "Don't be afraid, I'm not planning to kill you yet. I've already said that you have to answer a few questions of mine, but I've changed my mind now. You have to agree to a few conditions of mine, otherwise, I don't have a good temper, you know the consequences." As soon as Xiao Qin finished speaking, he circulated his primordial qi and displayed his strength, creating a great pressure in the room. What conditions? Feeling Xiao Qin's power, Tang Qianling was instantly scared silly, even forgetting the pain in his body for a moment. He didn't expect that this guy was already a third-stage venerable. He was originally wondering why his martial arts skills were ineffective against him, but it turned out that the difference in strength between them was too great. Wasn't he just an ant trying to shake a tree? It's actually not too difficult, you can definitely do it. Xiao Qin spread his hands and said, "First of all, you have to get rid of the controlled medicine that Tang took. Second, get rid of Tian Sour, the relationship between Tang Sour Corner and the Tang family, and restore her freedom." After Xiao Qin finished speaking unhurriedly, he snapped his fingers. Tian Suruan and Chick Xing slowly walked out of the shadows. They were even supporting Tang, who had a blank expression on her face and hollow eyes. Tang Qianling was startled again, staring blankly at the sudden appearance of these people. He didn't notice these girls hiding in the room earlier. Where did they come from? Naturally, Tang Qianling didn't know that Xiao Qin had set up an illusion to hide Tian Suruan and the others in the room, only allowing them to show themselves now. However, Tang Qianling couldn't care less now, only thinking about how to get out of here as soon as possible. How about it? Do I need to think for so long? Do you want me to help you think about it? Xiao Qin waved his fist in front of Tang Qianling and threatened. No need. Tang Qianling quickly said, "About this, I can't solve the chemical in Tang's body. I can only go to the head of Awakening sect for the antidote, or rely on her own willpower to resolve it. As for the relationship between Tang Sujiao and the Tang family, I can dissolve it. This is definitely not a problem. Why is it related to the open heaven gate again? Did they also participate in the experiment?" Xiao Qin frowned slightly and cast a questioning look at Xing Girl. In the end, he discovered that she was also at a loss. "Tang, you're not fooling me, are you?" Xiao Qin immediately clenched his fists and raised them. With a ferocious expression he said, "Jia Yubian has confessed everything. This experiment is led by your Tang family. Making such a clumsy lie won't do you any good. Looks like I have to wake you up again. Damn it, Jia Yubian is such a good-for-nothing. Tang Qianling cursed in his heart. He had long known that the guy's mouth was not tight, but he didn't expect that it would attract Xiao Chen. What a bad luck. Seeing that Xiao Chen's fist was about to hit him again, Tang Qianling was so scared that he hurriedly cried out, "Don't do it first? Master Xiao Chen, I didn't lie to you. This experiment is indeed led by the Open Heaven Gate. I usually contact Elder Sun and am responsible for providing him with resources." Elder Sun? Then why did you cooperate with Jia Yubian? Xiao Chen paused and asked again. Tang Qianling could say this person's name, so it was possible that he wasn't lying. Due to the lack of experimental resources, I had to work with Jia Yubian in private. He was in charge of selecting candidates for the experiment from the Heavenly Jade Mine, while I looked for people in the secular world and the outer martial arts world. Tang Qianling hurriedly explained. After thinking for a while, he felt that Tang Qianling really didn't seem to be lying. Xiao Chen finally put down his fist and said with a calm face, "Okay, then I will believe you this time. But this matter is not over yet. I will personally go to the Open Heaven Gate in the next 2 days to confront that Elder Sun. If there is any mistake in what you tell me now, then I will come back to you. At that time, it will not be as easy as it is now." Okay, Master Xiao Chen, go quickly. Tang Qianling nodded again and again, trying to squeeze a smile, but it looked terrible on his bloody face. I heard that the toxicity of this potion is very strong. If it is delayed for too long, I am afraid that it will cause irreversible damage to Miss Tang's body and brain. Although Tang Qianling pretended to be enthusiastic on the surface, he secretly scolded in his heart, "You idiot, do you think you are great because you are a venerable? You even want to run to the Open Heaven Gate to provoke them. At that time they can send a few masters to kill you without a burial place. Don't talk about those useless things." Xiao Chen kicked Tang Qianling hard again and said impatiently, "You know that you have to hurry up. Why don't you hurry up? Hurry up and write a document to prove that Tian Shaoring has broken off the relationship with your Tang family." Tian Shaoring stood aside and asked with a little worry, "Husband Xiao Chen, can what he writes be counted? Do we have to go to the family head to write it?" "It's okay. Since he is now the young master, he still has this right. It is very simple." Xiao Chen turned his head and consoled her. Then he turned back and urged her with a fiendish expression, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get the documents ready. Don't force me to serve you with my fists again." "Oh yes, I'll write it now." Tang Qianling hurriedly stood up and rubbed the place where he was kicked. He limped to the desk, picked up a pen and paper and lowered his head to write. "Husband Xiao Chen, Sister Shaoring, can you go and punch him a few times? I have tolerated him for a long time." Tian Shaoring let go of her worry and immediately waved her little fist eagerly. In the past, when she was still in the Tang family, she was often bullied by Tang Qianling. Moreover, she could not complain to anyone, so she accumulated a lot of resentment. "Go on, be gentle. Don't beat him to death or it won't be fun." Xiao Chen smiled and nodded, teasing her. Hee. Little b** Tish Tang, you did not expect this day to come, did you? Sister Shaoring has waited for this day for a long time. Eat my palm. Ah. Tian Shaoring walked towards Tang Qianling with a sinister smile, then activated her mental cultivation method, recalled a few martial arts techniques from the 5 Poisons Secret Manual, and slapped Tang Qianling's back. Smack. Chapter 1099. Tang Qianling was working hard on his document. He was still in pain from being beaten up by Xiao Chen. He could not even hold his pen properly. Caught off guard, Tian Shaoring slapped him hard on the back. Even though the slap did not pose any threat to him, the force of the slap caused him to rush forward involuntarily. He accidentally cut the document that he was about to finish writing. What's going on? Little b** Tish Tang, shouldn't you be vomiting blood from Sister Shaoring's beating? Why are you still perfectly fine? Seeing that Tang Qianling was only pushed and nothing else happened, Tian Suruan suddenly felt a little depressed. Due to the huge difference in strength between Tian Shaoring and Tang Qianling, her slap was like hitting cotton. It did not pose any threat to Tang Qianling. This. Hearing Tian Shaoring's question, Tang Qianling was even more speechless. He looked at the torn document in front of him and almost exploded in anger. However, with Xiao Chen watching from the side, he did not dare to get angry at Tian Shaoring. He could only helplessly take out a new piece of paper and quickly copy it. Husband Xiao Chen, look. Tang Qianling, this little b** starred, is acting shamelessly. Sister Shaoring can't even kill him with 10% of her strength. Is he cheating? This is not fun at all. Tian Shaoring stomped her feet and complained to Xiao Chen. Ahem, little b asterisk tsih Tang, hurry up and cooperate. Don't wait for me to make my move. Xiao Chen cleared his throat and cooperated with the advice. Tang Qianling gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He could only hand over the intact document to Xiao Chen first, then lay on the ground with a putong sound. He even screamed, "Ah, I'm dead. F asterisk CK me, this is too fake. There's no drama at all. How boring. Even Sister Souring can't stand it." Tian Souring glared at Tang Qianling and pouted in dissatisfaction. Deep down she knew that she was not strong enough. However, if Tang Qianling wanted to act, at least act properly. This performance was almost as bad as the Golden Raspberry Award. Forget it, Souring. Now that we have the thing, let's go to Chi Tian Men. Let's cure Tang Tang first. Xing Girl stopped her and walked over with Tang Tang's help. Although her expression was as calm as before, little girl Xing was somewhat conflicted in her heart. She didn't know if she should report Xiao Chen's preparations to go to the Awakening Heaven Gate to Elder Sunday. After all, she was still a member of Chi Tian Men. Her current task was to monitor Chi Tian Men and report his movements. She should be notified in advance. However, what made Xing depressed was that she knew that Elder Sun was also hiding a lot of things from her. Just like this kind of cruel human experiment, if she did not hear it with her own ears this time, she would not believe that Awakening Heaven sect would actually do such a thing. After struggling for a while, Xing decided not to say, Xing at Tian Shi Qi. Of Qi Xing Tian Tang Xing Chen Qi Yang Long He Xing. After struggling for a while, Xing Girl decided not to say it for the time being. She would adapt to the situation. Little b asterisk Tish Tang, do you know what to do tonight? Xiao Chen thought that the name Tian Souring gave him was quite pleasing to the ear, so he simply called him NNN. Tang Qianling was lying on the ground. He didn't dare to make too much of a reaction. He just nodded mechanically. And in your head. Xiao Chen slapped his head and said angrily, make it clear. Do you believe that I will give you another set of combination punches? I will keep my mouth shut. I won't tell anyone. Tang Qianling's head hit the ground with a bang. He was seeing stars, but he didn't dare to neglect. He quickly added, today I just played games for a while. I was a little sleepy. When I was sleeping I fell off the bed. That's why I got hurt. Very good. Xiao Chen smiled with satisfaction. If I find out that you are like a gossipy woman, spreading it everywhere, I will come back to have a good chat with you. Next time it won't be as easy as beating you up. Do you understand? In fact, Xiao Chen wasn't afraid that Tang Qianling would say it. He just didn't want to implicate Jia Muzhen. After all, he didn't have any foundation in the martial arts world. He could run away easily. However, the Tang family would definitely use this incident to find trouble with the Jia family. Clear. Tang Qianling still wanted to say, N. Fortunately, he stopped in time and agreed. Xiao Chen nodded. He folded the document and put it in his arms. Then he took the girls and disappeared from the room. Only Tang Qianling, who was crouching on the ground, didn't dare to get up until there was no movement for a long time. Xiao Chen's footsteps were very fast. Before long, they had arrived at the woods outside the Tang family. Xiao Chen saw that this place was relatively hidden and no one would pass by, so he stopped. After all, the journey from the Tang family to the Open Heaven Gate was very far. It would take at least 2 or 3 days. Xiao Chen didn't want to tire himself too much with the girls. He planned to rest here for the night and continue on the journey tomorrow on his flying sword. After quickly setting up a simple tent, Xiao Chen let the girls sleep in the tent while he kept watch outside. At the same time, he cultivated with the help of the rich spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The large families in the martial arts world would basically be stationed in the blessed enclave with the richest spiritual qi. The Tang family was no exception. This forest was considered the periphery of the Tang family. Although it couldn't be compared to the Tianyu mine, the spiritual qi was also quite high. For Xiao Chen it was better than nothing. It was night and the stars were shining brightly. Light breathing sounds could be heard from inside and outside the tent. Little girl Xing lay in the tent, staring at the top of the tent with her eyes open. She didn't fall asleep for a long time and looked preoccupied. She felt that she had changed a little and was not like her former self. In the past, she never dared to do anything against Elder Sunday. Everything was led by the Open Heaven Gate and she faithfully executed the orders. But since she followed Xiao Chen, not only was the competition not good, but she also directly forfeited. She also saved Xiao Chen from the mine disaster and even became his shield in the Jia family meeting. She even had to lie to Elder Sun for this. Now, even when he went to the Tang family to find trouble with Tang Qianling, She also found out so many secrets of the open heaven gate. She dared to hide such important information and did not report it. It was simply too bold. How could this be? Did I fall in love with Xiaoqin? Is that why I unconsciously hid the truth for him? Little girl Xing immediately denied it. No. Impossible. Xiaoqin, that bastard, always bullied me. He even made me hit a tree before. I won't like such a bad guy. Or is it because Xiaoqin is too powerful? Even if I secretly report to Elder Sun, it would be useless? Maybe as soon as I dialed the phone, I would be caught immediately. Chapter 1100. After all, Xiaoqin could even easily defeat a consummate venerable like the Jia clan master. Would sect leader Situ also be helpless against him? However, Qitian sect was really too much. How could they use living humans as experiments? Those people should have beautiful lives and families waiting for them to return home. How could they use those free people as tools just for their own selfish reasons? When did the sect that she had always trusted become cold-blooded demons that disregarded their own lives? As she thought about it, Xing Shui felt that her brain was a mess. She could no longer tell right from wrong. She sighed and stopped her thoughts. She closed her eyes, calmed her heart, and fell into a deep sleep. Tianfang Province, Supernatural Investigation Department Headquarters. Ling Tian sat in his office and read through a stack of reports for a long time. His expression was extremely serious. After throwing the documents on the table, Ling Tian picked up his phone and told his secretary to gather a few deputy bureau chiefs for an emergency meeting. 5 minutes later, Xia Zhili, Song Bilian, and a few other deputy bureau chiefs arrived at the meeting room and waited patiently. After a while, Ling Tian walked in with a stack of documents. He asked his secretary to distribute the documents to everyone else while he sat down at the head of the table. He picked up the cup of tea on the table and took a sip. After everyone had finished reading the documents, he prepared to give out the orders. Bureau Chief Ling, it seems like Xiaoqin hasn't attended a meeting for a long time already. Furthermore, I don't think I've seen him come to work before. According to the regulations, this should be considered absenteeism, right? Shouldn't we discuss whether we can fire him? Before Ling Tian could say anything, Song Bilian suddenly pointed at an empty seat and frowned. That seat was originally reserved for Xiaoqin. However, ever since he went to the Research Institute to escort the documents, he hadn't returned to work at the Supernatural Investigation Department. However, Ling Tian didn't remove him from his position as a deputy bureau chief. Thus, that seat had been empty for a long time and no one else could replace it. Xiaoqin has been sent on a secret mission and won't be back for a while. If you don't have any other questions, let's start today's meeting. Ling Tian looked at Song Bilian and said coldly. Wait. Song Bilian's face darkened. He stood up abruptly and asked word by word, Director Ling, what secret mission is Xiaoqin carrying out? If you don't make things clear today, I think he's been absent for a long time. As the deputy bureau chief, he doesn't come to work all year round. The investigation bureau should dismiss him and fire him. I've already said that Xiaoqin is currently on a secret mission. You've been in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau for so many years, so you should be familiar with the relevant confidentiality regulations, right? Do you think it's appropriate for you to question him in public? Vice Bureau Chief Song. Ling Tian said angrily. He deliberately emphasized the words, Deputy Bureau Chief Song, because he wanted Song Bilian to be aware of his status. He didn't have the right to ask every question in public. That's strange. Of course I know the confidentiality regulations. I can almost memorize them. Song Bilian sneered and retorted word by word, Since you want to make a fuss about the confidentiality regulations, then I would like to consult the acting bureau chief. I don't dare to say that. Just say it. Ling Tian's expression was a little stiff. Song Bilian's mockery was too obvious. He also said the last few words loudly, purposely pointing out that he was only a second in command. This brat is really shameless. Among the people here there aren't any low-ranking employees. They are all the deputy bureau chief of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and have the right to know the situation. Why aren't you willing to say where Xiaoqin went? Are you purposely protecting him? Song Bilian wanted this kind of effect. He immediately asked, not wanting to be outdone. He didn't even bother to use honorifics. Xia Zhili, who was sitting on the other side, glared at Song Bilian. He was very unhappy. After all, Xiaoqin used to be his subordinate. Although he was now the deputy bureau chief, he was still on his side. Now that an outsider like Song Bilian was pointing fingers at Xiaoqin, how could he tolerate it? Ling Tian rapped his knuckles on the table, staring at Song Bilian as he slowly said, Even though I'm only the acting director, I still have the authority to control the entire secret investigation department. This includes the authority to assign any member to any mission without informing anyone else. Don't you understand such a simple principle? At this moment, Ling Tian was already secretly angry. He was very dissatisfied with Song Bilian's mocking attitude. However, in front of everyone, he suppressed his anger and didn't reveal it. This logic, I have never heard of it before. I wonder which section of the confidentiality regulations it is? I can go and look through it. Song Bilian didn't back down as he pinched his nose and said sarcastically. This time Ling Tian wasn't angry anymore. With a faint smile, he said sarcastically, "Forget it, you are only a deputy bureau chief after all. I won't blame you. If you have the chance to become the bureau chief in the future, you will naturally understand this logic." Ling Tian, stop making sarcastic remarks over there. Song Bilian's face turned red from the sarcasm as he roared back. However, Ling Tian didn't even bother with him. Instead, he slowly picked up his teacup from the table and took a sip. His expression was as content as one could imagine. Song Bilian suddenly calmed down as he said with a smile, "From what I know, you once sent Xiao Qin to protect your granddaughter? I don't think this is within your scope of responsibility, right? Regardless of whether it is the bureau chief or the acting bureau chief, no one can abuse their authority. This doesn't seem too appropriate. Acting bureau chief, I wonder if you can give me a reasonable explanation?" Song Bilian had also found out about this matter by accident. Now was the perfect time to deal a blow to Ling Tian. Because Xiao Qin had made things difficult for Song Bilian when he was still in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Song Bilian had always harbored a grudge against him. He always wanted to find an excuse to kick Xiao Qin out of the bureau. However, for some reason, Ling Tian seemed to have eaten the wrong medicine and would often cover for him, acting as the old hen in front of him. As a result, Song Bilian bore a grudge against the both of them. Now that he had finally found an opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. "Pa. Explain your head." Ling Tian's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to flare up, Xia Zhili couldn't take it anymore as he slammed the table heavily and scolded, "Song Bilian, why don't you take a look at what kind of *T status you have? Why do I have to tell you everything? Even if I don't tell you, what can you do? You're really *King idiot. You don't know anything and only know how to spout nonsense." Chapter 1101. You. Xia Zhili, you actually dare to scold me? Song Bilian did not expect Xia Zhili to actually curse in public and was so angered that his entire body trembled. He glared at Xia Zhili and shouted, "What right do you have? Who do you think you are? Aren't you just a deputy bureau chief? Don't think that I don't know that you've been shielding that brat Xiao Qin all this while. I think you guys are just a bunch of snakes and rats. None of you are good people. *CK, even if I really shielded Xiao Qin, what can you do about it?" Xia Zhili stood up in anger and rolled up his sleeves. He could not be bothered with the situation as he pointed at Song Bilian and scolded, "You're not convinced? If you're not convinced, let's go outside and have a spar. If I don't beat you up like a grandson today, I'll write my name backwards. You, brute. You're simply too unruly." Song Bilian clenched his fists tightly and wanted to rush forward to give Xia Zhili a few punches. However, he did not dare to do so. Not only was he unable to defeat Xia Zhili, he was also afraid that Ling Tian would use this as an excuse to kick him out of the bureau. "Enough. I called you guys here because I have something important to discuss, not to watch you guys fight. If you guys really want to fight, wait until the meeting is over and find a corner to fight." Ling Tian slammed the documents in his hands onto the table and roared angrily. He was indeed a little angry. Although he usually shielded Xiao Qin, it was only because he cherished talent. Was such a small matter worth his subordinates arguing over? Besides, there were more important things to do. Xia Zhili and Song Bilian saw that Ling Tian was angry and restrained themselves. Perhaps they felt that they had gone overboard, so they glared at each other before sitting down silently. Seeing that the two of them were no longer arguing, Ling Tian rubbed his temples in frustration and said with a serious expression, "Has everyone finished looking through the documents? Recently there have been many rogue cultivators who have mysteriously disappeared. Some of them have disappeared for a long time, while others have only disappeared recently. After they disappeared, there were no longer any traces of them. Since they have disappeared for a long time, why didn't they report it earlier? Did you wait until so many people disappeared before reporting it? Did the people below neglect their duties?" Song Bilian looked at the information in front of him and asked with a frown. Ling Tian glanced at Song Billion. He could not tell if Song Billion was truly suspicious or just bickering with him. However, he still patiently explained, because the rogue cultivators in the mortal world usually do things their own way, no one would notice if they disappeared. Even if there were reports, the news would be scattered all over the place. It was only until we sorted them out that we realized that there were quite a few of them. Song Billion pursed his lips and made an "oh" sound, indicating that he understood. Ling Tian could not be bothered with him as he continued. A few days ago, after I reported this matter to the Martial Artists Guild, I received an even more shocking piece of news. It turned out that in the outer martial arts world, there were also some cultivators who went missing one after another, and there were quite a few of them. Now, the Martial Arts Guild of the outer martial arts world has suggested that we, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, investigate this matter together, so I want to hear everyone's opinion. After describing the contents of the meeting, Ling Tian took a sip of tea and sat there, waiting for everyone's suggestions. I feel that, to be able to make so many rogue cultivators disappear without a trace in such a long period of time, the strength and background of the person who is able to do such a thing is definitely not to be underestimated. Xia Zhili thought for a while and said cautiously, and from the looks of it, even the people of the outer martial arts world are helpless. I think that only some of the big families and sects of the inner martial arts world have the ability to do such a thing. Xia Zhili's guess had its basis. After all, the strength of the sects of the outer martial arts world was limited. Furthermore, they all knew each other inside out, not to mention the secular world. The various big families and clans were very clear about their own strengths, so he placed his guess on the inner martial arts world. If Xiao Qin was here, he would definitely applaud Xia Zhili. Based on the limited information he had, Xia Zhili's direction was actually pretty close to the mark. Che, when they don't need our help, they wouldn't let us participate in the affairs of the martial arts world no matter what. Now that they don't have enough strength, they have the cheek to ask for our help. These people of the martial arts world really have the cheek to open their mouths. Song Billion snorted in disdain. As the deputy bureau chief, Song Billion had a deep understanding of this point. Usually, when the martial arts guild sent people to help, they would raise their noses higher than the heavens. No matter what they were asked to do, they would arrogantly reject it. Who would have thought that they would actually take the initiative to look for the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to ask for help? After living for so long, one could really see everything. Alright, don't talk about things that have nothing to do with the meeting. Ling Tian waved his hands, stopping Song Billion's complaints. After waiting for a while, the other deputy bureau chiefs also expressed their opinions. However, none of them had any constructive suggestions. They either agreed with Xia Zhili's words, or spoke ambiguously, expressing their resentment towards the martial arts guild. After listening to a round of discussion, Ling Tian knew that they were all people by Xia Zhili and Song Billion's side, so they wouldn't have any new ideas. Thus, he opened his mouth and said, "Since no one has any other suggestions, then let me make the decision. Everyone vote on one person to head to the Martial Arts Guild to cooperate with their investigation. Do you have any suitable candidates to recommend?" Different from Song Billion, Ling Tian didn't mind the Martial Arts Guild's change from arrogance to respect and was willing to cooperate with them. The key was that he heard from his granddaughter, Ling Qinyu, that after Xiao Chen and the others went to the Martial Arts Guild, they immediately lost contact with them. There was no news of them at all, so he didn't know what the situation was like. Thus Ling Tian was a little worried. He originally wanted to send a few of his trusted subordinates to search for Xiao Chen's whereabouts, but unfortunately he didn't have any suitable candidates at the moment. Furthermore, he couldn't find a way to enter the Martial Arts Guild, so he put it aside. Now that there was a chance, Ling Tian planned to use this chance to send someone over and cooperate with the Martial Arts Guild to investigate. Who knows, they might have a chance to head to the Martial Arts Guild to investigate the situation. If they could find Xiao Chen, they might be able to bring him back safely. Naturally, no one knew of Ling Tian's plans. Aside from Xia Zhili and Song Billion, the other deputy bureau chiefs all looked at each other. On the surface, they seemed to be thinking nervously, but in reality, without the two's instructions, they didn't dare to easily recommend a candidate. "I have someone I can recommend." Song Billion's eyes turned as he took the initiative to speak. Chapter 1102. Deputy Bureau Chief Song, why don't you tell me? Ling Tian glanced at him and thought to himself, this brat can't be up to something again, right? Song Billion calmly said, I feel that Song Huawu should be able to do this job. She has experience working with the outer martial arts sects in the past and she knows quite a number of people from the Martial Artists Guild. I believe that she will be able to put in some words if she goes. There shouldn't be a problem sending her there. The reason why he recommended Song Huawu was because Song Bilian felt that she was no longer on his side. Rather than keeping this lass here to cause trouble, he might as well send her away. Anyway, he did not like to see those outer martial arts guilds that said one thing but did another. It was just right for him to send Song Huawu over to shut their mouths. Furthermore, it would be considered a promotion. At that time, the Song family would definitely be grateful to him. And I also agree to send Song Huawu over. From her qualifications and past experience, she is indeed more suitable. Xia Zhili nodded his head in agreement with Song Bilian's suggestion. He was not trying to suck up to Song Bilian, but he had a vague feeling that this entire matter had something to do with Xiao Chen. Song Huawu had been looking for him frequently recently, constantly inquiring about Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Xia Zhili thought that he could make use of this opportunity to send her to the outer martial arts world to gather information. Who knows, she might be able to find Xiao Chen. On the contrary, Song Bilian was a little surprised. He stared at Xia Zhili strangely and felt puzzled in his heart. Why didn't this fellow object? Instead, he raised the flag of approval. Could it be that he was plotting something? With the two leaders recommending the same person, the people below did not have any objections. They all praised Song Huawu for being especially suitable for this task. They even praised the two talent scouts who were able to discern people from the smallest detail. Ling Tian did not notice the undercurrent of the people below. After pondering for a moment, he could not think of a better candidate. He then said, "Since the others have no objections, then let Song Huawu make the trip. Later, I will issue a dispatch document to her and ask her to immediately go to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to cooperate with the relevant personnel in the investigation. You don't need to assign her any other tasks." Well, the meeting is adjourned. After leaving the conference room in a hurry, Xia Zhili walked to an empty corner and took out his mobile phone to call Song Huawu. He asked her to come to his office. On one hand, he wanted to give her a heads up about the mission in advance, and on the other hand, he wanted to explain some matters related to Xiao Chen. Dong dong dong. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, I'm Song Huawu. After a while, Song Huawu arrived outside Xia Zhili's office. She politely knocked on the door and called out softly, "Come in." Xia Zhili put down the work in his hands and gestured for Song Huawu, who had just pushed open the door, to find a place to sit first. He then picked up a document that had just been delivered on the table and handed it over. Seeing that Song Huawu took the document with a look of understanding and didn't look surprised at all, Xia Zhili had an idea and said, "It looks like you've already received the dispatch notice from Chief Ling, right?" Song Huawu nodded and said, "Yes. Chief Ling asked me to cooperate with the Wulin Warriors Guild to carry out an investigation on the large-scale disappearance of rogue cultivators." "Yes." Xia Zhili pointed to the document and said, "This is the official written document. Later, someone will send you to the Wulin Warriors Guild. At that time, you can hand the document to the person in charge there, and he will know to contact you." Okay. After Song Huawu put away the document, she hesitated for a moment and asked, "Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, do you have any other instructions for the mission? I came here this time because I have some questions to ask you. It's about Xiao Chen." "Go ahead," Xia Zhili replied. He originally wanted to talk to Song Huawu about Xiao Chen, but he didn't expect this girl to bring it up first. "It's like this, I haven't been able to contact Xiao Chen for a long time, and the Bureau can't find any records of his actions. May I ask if you know where he is now?" Song Huawu asked with a frown. The two hadn't seen each other for more than a year, and Song Huawu missed Xiao Chen more and more. She also knew in her heart that after Xiao Chen became the deputy bureau chief, he would definitely have more tasks than before and would be busier. He might not have much time to accompany her. But even if he didn't have time, he should be able to contact her by phone occasionally, right? But Xiao Chen didn't even call her. If it weren't for the fact that she was also very busy with work and couldn't spare time, she would have long gone to the Xiao family to find him. Actually, I haven't heard from Xiao Chen for a long time. Xia Zhili's expression was a little helpless. Previously, when the Quishan sect issued a kill order for him, he asked me to secretly arrange for him to study at Lan City University. But according to the latest news I received, the Quishan sect's leader, Ma Buqiu, has mysteriously fallen to his death in a small district in Lan City, and Xiao Chen is nowhere to be found. I've sent people to look for him, but they couldn't find him. Ah, then is Xiao Chen in danger now? Song Huawu was shocked. Because these things were classified as the highest level of internal secrets, she had never heard anyone mention it before. Today was the first time she heard Xia Zhili mention it. I'm not too sure about that. Xia Zhili shook his head and sighed. Currently, what I'm most worried about is whether Xiaoqin is also under the control of the powerful forces in the internal martial arts world, like those missing rogue cultivators. If that's the case, then the problem will be more troublesome. Although he was the deputy bureau chief and usually had an awe-inspiring presence in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, there was nothing he could do about those martial arts people. His skills were inferior, so he could only endure it. Song Huawu was stunned for a long time after hearing this. Suddenly, she lowered her head and thought for a while. As if she had made a major decision, she bit her lower lip and said, "Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, I don't want to take this mission anymore. Can you talk to Bureau Chief Ling and ask him to send someone else? I want to go to the internal martial arts world myself and look for Xiaoqin." Xia Zhili stared blankly and revealed an expression of realization. However, he still opened his mouth to reject her request. "Xiao Song, I know that you're very worried about Xiaoqian's safety, but we can't be too impulsive. The internal martial arts world is a dragon's pool and tiger's den. It's not as simple as the secular world. Your strength is still too low. If you go there alone, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to escape unscathed." Song Huawu lowered her head and did not speak. Her longing for Xiaoqian was getting more and more intense. Even if the internal martial arts world was a man-eating beast, she still wanted to go there. Seeing Song Huawu's stubborn look, Xia Zhili knew that this little girl was still persevering. He softened his tone and analyzed carefully. "Actually, you can also look for Xiaoqin by carrying out the mission. Think about it, you're alone. Even if you want to look for clues, you don't have a source. It's better to cooperate with the Warriors Guild of the external martial arts world and the internal martial arts world. At least they have more experience in this aspect, don't they?" Chapter 1103. This. Song Huawu looked a little relaxed. What Xia Zhili said was right. If she went to the internal martial arts world, she would be in the dark. She didn't even know where to start. She could only hit a dead mouse by luck. The probability was too small. Moreover, the mission you are going to carry out this time is to find someone in the inner Wulin. You can take this opportunity to inquire about Xiaoqian's news. Isn't it much easier than going by yourself? Xia Zhili guided her patiently. All right, I'll set off now. Song Huawu pondered for a moment and finally calmed down from her impulse. Thinking that what Xia Zhili said was quite reasonable, she simply nodded and agreed. "Well, that's good. The car has been prepared outside. If you have any questions or need help during the mission, remember to call me or look for Chief Ling." Xia Zhili nodded and gave a few more instructions. Song Huawu stood up and left. Xia Zhili sent her off, then returned to his desk and stared blankly for a while. Xiaoqin, where have you been?" Chief Ling said on the surface that he was carrying out a mission, but I guess he actually doesn't know what you've been doing. "Sai, so many people are watching your movements, I hope you're safe." Thinking of this, Xia Zhili shook his head and continued to devote himself to his work. Song Huawu arrived at the Outer Wulin Guild by car and directly found Vice President Nian to explain the purpose of her visit. Vice President Nian arranged for her to go to the conference room and wait for the people from the Inner Wulin Guild to come over before everyone discussed this matter together. "Aya, isn't this our little friend Song Huawu? Why are you here? I haven't seen you for a long time, I thought you went missing." As soon as she walked into the conference room, Song Huawu heard a familiar soft voice, which made her bones melt. Song Huawu looked up and saw Miss Hongzhu standing not far away. Her figure was enchanting and her eyes were full of affection. She was waving at her with a smile. She didn't expect to meet Hongzhu here, but thinking about it, she had a wide network after all. Song Huawu twitched the corner of her mouth as a response. "You know each other? That's great. You guys go ahead and chat for a while. I'll continue to wait at the entrance. Once everyone from the Martial Arts Guild has arrived, we can discuss the problem of the missing cultivators." With this, Vice Guild leader Nian did not even have to go through the formalities of introducing each other. She smiled and excused herself to Song Huawu and Red Candle. She then turned around and left the meeting room, preparing to welcome the people from Inner Martial Arts Guild. I didn't want to come either, but the higher-ups assigned me an important mission, so I had no choice but to come here personally." Song Huawu recalled Hongzhu's question just now and casually replied. Without waiting for Hongzhu to respond, she casually found a place to sit down, took out her phone and began playing with it. All this time she was thinking about how she could use this channel to inquire about Xiaoqin. Io, don't be so cold. Weren't we on the same side when the demonic sect and the righteous sects held a summit? It's rare for us to meet, so why are you showing me such a bitter face? Can't we just have a nice chat? Don't tell me you don't want to see me? Hongzhu half leaned on the windowsill and teased her with a smile. Song Huawu could not tell whether Hongzhu was sincere or just pretending, so she simply chose to play deaf and dumb, pretending not to hear anything and continuing to play with her phone with her head lowered. Seeing Song Huawu's lack of interest and her attitude of not wanting to chat with him at all, Hongzhu curled his lips in boredom. He could only take out his phone and scroll through his moments, but he also looked absent-minded. The two women played with their phones for a while, feeling quite bored. However, they did not know what to say to break the deadlock, and the atmosphere in the meeting room suddenly became a little awkward. That's right. Have you seen Xiaoqin recently? Not long after, the two women could not bear the loneliness any longer. They put away their phones at the same time and asked each other in unison. You first. Once again they spoke in unison. The two women looked at each other and could not help but burst into laughter. The hostility in their hearts towards each other had also weakened a lot. Hongzhu raised his hand and made a pleased gesture, indicating for Song Huawu to speak first. I haven't seen him for a long time. It's been more than a year. I haven't contacted Xiaoqin and he didn't take the initiative to call me either. I originally thought that he was busy, but later I found that I couldn't find him. I don't know if he encountered some trouble, sigh. Song Huawu's expression was a little sad. She lowered her head and fiddled with her fingers, pretending to be indifferent. TSK, it seems that the relationship between you two isn't very good. But this is also very normal. Xiaoqin is so outstanding, it's understandable that he has other women outside. You should be more open-minded and not limit yourself to small love affairs. Hongzhu shook his head. Even if Song Huawu's tone was calm, he could still hear the depression in it. That's not what I mean, it's just that. Song Huawu wanted to explain, but in the end she did not say anything and changed her tone to ask, what about you? When was the last time you saw Xiaoqin? Actually, I haven't seen him for a long time. Since the last time. Hongzhu paused, feeling that he should not mention the matter of Xinjingxian, so he calmly changed his words and said, after meeting him at Little Hong's pharmacy, I haven't contacted him again. After all, I'm not familiar with him, so there's no need to harass him so often. Hongzhu, that. Song Huawu hesitated for a moment, then summoned her courage and said, your Hong Chamber of Commerce is so well informed, and I've heard that you have an organization like the Hong Ing Group that specializes in gathering information. Are you still unable to find Xiaoqin's whereabouts by relying on these? At this time, Song Huawu was completely focused on Xiaoqin and did not pay much attention to Hongzhu's strange behavior. You know quite a lot, huh? Hongzhu glanced at Song Huawu and spread his hands helplessly. Although the Hong Chamber of Commerce and the Hong Ing Group do indeed have many channels in the martial arts world, they usually have a lot of daily affairs to deal with. Besides, Xiaoqin is not my husband, so what right do I have to mobilize all the resources of the Hong family just to find him? However, the truth was not as Hongzhu had said. In fact, she had secretly sent people to inquire about Xiaoqin's whereabouts many times, but the information she had obtained was very fragmented and very limited. After all, Xiaoqin had concealed his whereabouts too well, and even the Hong Ing Group could not do anything about it. Say, is it possible that Xiaoqin has been captured by the people of the martial arts world? Just like those missing cultivators this time. Otherwise, how could a living person like him suddenly disappear from the world without a trace? Song Huawu asked worriedly. Chapter 1104. Song Huawu was completely flustered. If it were not for Xiaoqin, she would not have shown her weak side in front of Hongzhu at all. I hope it's not like what you said. Otherwise it will be a big problem. As far as I know, the situation in the internal martial arts circle is quite complicated. There are many factions and masters. If Xiaoqin is really taken away, I'm afraid he will be in danger. Hongzhu frowned slightly and was also a little worried. She had also considered this before. Therefore, after receiving this task, she took the initiative to come here to cooperate with this investigation. She also wanted to find out the whereabouts of Xiaoqin. After the two women chatted for a while, the door of the conference room was opened. Vice President Nian entered with the people of the Internal Martial Arts Guild. The two women stopped chatting and took their seats. They began to seriously discuss the content of this cooperation. However, this discussion did not have much effect, because the Internal Martial Arts Guild could play a very small role. It was so small that it was unexpected. It basically could not play any help in this investigation. The reason was also very simple. Compared with the external martial arts circle and the secular world, the power and influence of the internal martial arts guild was extremely small. Usually, no one would care about its voice. In the internal martial arts circle, the families and sects did their own things. Moreover, each had their own backing. They were generally overbearing and fierce. They talked with their fists and usually did not listen to the management of the martial arts guild. Although the internal martial arts guild was very helpless about this situation, they also understood that the reason was that they were not strong enough. Although they had a few venerables, it was useless. In case of a major evil incident, they could do nothing but stand out weakly and mediate in the middle. In the hall of the secular martial arts guild, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao waited in the villa for a few days, but they did not receive Hongzhu's call. After a discussion, they simply drove to the martial arts guild to see if they could find any information there. To their surprise, as soon as they walked into the hall of the martial arts guild, they saw a red notice flashing conspicuously on the task issuing screen. The two of them took a closer look and realized that it was actually a warning. It was a warning to all cultivators to be more careful when they were doing their missions. Currently, many cultivators have inexplicably disappeared, and their whereabouts have not yet been found. It is possible that there is an evil force behind this, so please pay more attention. Under the announcement, the list of people who had gone missing was scrolling. The two women turned pale with fright and had a bad feeling in their hearts. Did Xiao Qin also go missing? They hurried to the screen and stared at the name list for a while. After scrolling through all the names, they confirmed that they did not see Xiao Chen's name. The two of them heaved a long sigh of relief, but they were still a little worried. After discussing for a while, they decided to go to the martial arts guild in the outer world to inquire about the news. Originally, Jin Beibei intended to go by herself, but Xiao Xiao insisted on going with her. Jin Beibei listed various dangers, but she still couldn't convince Xiao Xiao. In the end, she had no choice but to agree. Although Jin Beibei was taking Xiao Xiao with her, she was still a little worried. The outer martial arts guild was quite far away. If they ran into something unexpected on the way, such as the inexplicable disappearance that was mentioned in the announcement, she might be able to run away. However, Xiao Xiao was too weak and could not escape unscathed. Let's just take one step at a time. Thankfully, Jin Beibei's worries were in vain this time. The journey to the outer martial arts guild was relatively smooth. The two women reached the outer martial arts guild without meeting any obstacles. After they got off the car, the two women hurried to the guild. However, they were stopped by the guards before they reached the office area. Hey, stop right there. What are you two doing here? Don't you know that only staff members are allowed to enter this place? A tall guard stood in front of the two women and made a stop gesture. He glared at Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao and yelled, Sir, we have something very important that we need to talk to your manager. Could you please make an exception and let us in? Xiao Xiao was startled by the unexpected roar. She was a little scared, but she still summoned her courage and spoke carefully. What is it? The people in the outer martial arts guild are very busy. Don't come here for every trivial matter. The tall guard was going to drive them away directly, but he still asked after thinking for a moment. What if they really knew a big leader? In that case, wouldn't he have offended all of them? Here's the thing. My brother, Xiao Qin, is also a cultivator. He has been missing for more than a year. Right now, our whole family is very anxious. Xiao Xiao was refreshed. It seemed that there was hope. She hurried to explain. Psycho. What does your brother's disappearance have to do with the outer martial arts guild? It's not like we made them disappear. Before Xiao Xiao could finish, the tall guard immediately interrupted her impatiently. I thought that you might be looking for a big leader, but it turns out that you are looking for a missing person. You made me waste so much time talking. But well. Xiao Xiao still wanted to argue, but the tall guard immediately waved his hands and said straightforwardly, All right, cut the crap. If you want to find someone, go to the counter in front to register and then go home and wait for the notification. After that, the tall guard rolled his eyes at the two women and mumbled in a voice that the two of them could hear. He has been missing for more than a year, and you only remember to look for him now? What have you been doing before? Hey, don't you know how to chat, huh? My cousin-in-law Xiao Qin is a very awesome person. Everyone else respected him very much. Now that he has gone missing without a good reason, of course, the outer martial arts guild is responsible for looking for him. How can it have nothing to do with you? Jin Beibei rolled her eyes at the guard and protested in dissatisfaction. She had been trying to figure out a way to teach the arrogant guard a lesson. However, she felt that they were in somebody else's territory, and the two girls would certainly be at a disadvantage if they made a fuss. Eventually she gave up the idea. All right. Cut the nonsense. He is so awesome, how could he have gone missing? Don't mess around here. Otherwise I will arrest all of you. Just go now. The tall guard was almost amused by Jean Beibe's bandit logic. He estimated that the two girls did not know the rules either. Therefore he simply rolled his eyes and ignored them. Jean Beibe and Xiao Xiao were still trying to argue for something when they suddenly saw a middle-aged man walking out of the meeting room from the gate behind the tall guard, followed by a bunch of people. They were immediately shocked and looked at each other in bewilderment. Knowing that it was not good, they stepped back quickly, thinking that they were really going to be arrested. Chapter 11:05. What's going on outside? Why is it so noisy? Don't you know that an important meeting is going on inside? The middle-aged man who walked out was exactly Vice President Nian. He frowned and asked. As it turned out, they happened to be having a meeting on the investigation of the missing cultivators. Because of the weakness of the martial arts guild, the meeting was in an impasse. Everybody racked their brains but could not come up with a solution. Then they heard noises outside. No longer in the mood to continue the meeting, they simply came out to check the situation. Vice President Nian, it's the two crazy girls who are causing trouble. They claim that they are looking for an unaffiliated cultivator named Xiao Chen. After I asked them, I learned that he has been missing for more than a year. Therefore, I asked them to register at the counter in front, but they refused and kept pestering us for a while. I haven't had time to deal with them yet. I'm very sorry for interrupting your meeting. I'll drive them away right now. The tall guard was also shocked and hurried to report respectfully. Hardly had he finished his report when the tall guard immediately turned around and began to drive Jean Beibe and Xiao Xiao away like an eagle chasing away chicks. The two girls had alarmed Vice President Nian. If he did not take care of them soon, he would be screwed if his salary was deducted later. Wait. Vice President Nian suddenly waved her hands and stopped the tall guard from driving them away. Scratching her chin, she mumbled deep in thought, Xiao Chen? The name sounds familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere before. I can't recall it now. Hong Zhu and Song Huawu had been standing at the back of the crowd. After hearing the name of Xiao Chen being mentioned, they looked at each other and walked to the front of the crowd at the same time. Coming to the front, Song Huawu and Hong Zhu were dazed when they saw Jean Beibe and Xiao Zhao's faces. They searched their memories, only to discover that they had absolutely no impression of the two of them. Song Huawu thought for a moment and asked first, May I ask, who are you to Xiao Chen? Looking at the two beauties in front of her, who each had their own characteristics, Song Huawu felt that there was something weird in her heart. She did not know what was going on. Oh, my name is Jean Beibe. I am from the Jean family in the secular world. Xiao Chen is my cousin-in-law. Although she did not know Song Huawu, Jean Beibe's intuition told her that the person was quite friendly and did not seem malicious. Therefore she introduced herself first. Then she pointed at Xiao Xiao and said, She is Xiao Xiao from the Xiao family in the secular world. She is Xiao Chen's sister. All right. I remember now. The Xiao Chen of the Xiao family. Back then I even helped Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing's marriage as a peacemaker. No wonder this name sounds so familiar. I'm getting old and forgetful. Vice President Nian slapped her thigh and said with a look of realization. That's right. Qing Menjing is my cousin. I'm her cousin. Jean Beibe was overjoyed. She hurried to add, We are here for my cousin-in-law, but the guy at the door is not letting us in. The tall guard was sweating hard. He did not expect that the two crazy girls would be familiar with the person they were looking for, even though they did not know the leader. He was screwed. His future was in danger. Oh, according to the rules of the guild, I am only following. The tall guard was going to explain, but he stammered so hard that he could barely finish his sentence. Vice President Nian glared at him. Then she turned around and said apologetically, I'm sorry, ladies. Since a lot of cultivators from the secular world and the foreign martial arts world have gone missing recently, we are still investigating. But there is nothing we can do right now. It is our duty to be a guard. Please don't take it to heart. Just go and register yourself according to the rules first. Leave the rest to us. Okay. Jean Beibe and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. Knowing that they would not get any information this time, they nodded gloomily and turned around, ready to go to the lobby outside to register. Hey, you two, wait a moment. Hong Zhu had been waiting for Song Huawu to talk, but she seemed to be in a daze as if she were thinking about something. Therefore he could only stop Jean Beibe and Xiao Xiao. After stopping the two girls, Hongzhu turned around and said, Vice President Nian, I already know who Jin Beibei is. You can go back to your meeting first. Leave the rest to me. I'll take care of everything. After hearing Jin Beibei's introduction, Hongzhu suddenly remembered that a message had been sent from Little Hong's pharmacy a few days ago, saying that a person named Jin Beibei had come to inquire about Xiao Chen and asked her to call back when she was free. Although Hongzhu was also looking for Xiao Chen, she did not know Jin Beibei, nor did she understand the relationship between Jin Beibei and Xiao Chen. Therefore she did not take it to heart and forgot to call Jin Beibei back. She only remembered when she heard the name. Jin Beibei blinked and eyed Hongzhu up and down in confusion. Although she had heard of Hongzhu's name before, she had never met the guy in person. Therefore, she did not know who the charming girl with the gentle voice in front of her was. Therefore, when Hongzhu and Vice President Nian mentioned that they knew each other, Jin Beibei could not help but feel that it was odd. However, since she had volunteered to help, she must know something about her cousin-in-law. Naturally, Jin Beibei would not raise any questions right away. Instead, she wisely chose to remain silent. All right. We'll go in now. You can come back to the meeting after you're done here. Vice President Nian nodded and did not think too much about it. She turned around and led her people into the meeting room. After seeing off Vice President Nian, Hongzhu turned around and said to Jin Beibei, Ladies, please wait in the lobby for a while. Song Huawu and I are in a meeting. We will come to discuss Xiao Chen with you immediately after we're done. Is that okay? Okay. Then Xiao Xiao and I will go and get something to eat first. After a day's journey, Beibei is about to pass out from hunger. Jin Beibei hurried to nod her head. She touched her flat belly and exclaimed in joy. She and Xiao Xiao had planned to find a place to eat on the way, but the mountain road was too rugged for them to find a decent restaurant. Therefore they had been starving until now. That's fine too. There's a restaurant right next door. You can go there and eat first. We will go there immediately after the meeting is done. Hongzhu nodded. He left Jin Beibei's and Xiao Xiao's phone numbers carefully before he turned around and walked into the meeting room. Song Huawu smiled and nodded at the two of them. She then looked at Jin Beibei thoughtfully before she turned around and followed Hongzhu into the meeting room. After Hongzhu and Xiao Xiao were gone, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao pursed their lips at the embarrassed tall guard. Not wanting to talk to him anymore, they turned around and left the Guild of External Martial Arts Society for a meal in a restaurant. Chapter 1106. The heated discussion in the meeting room lasted for more than an hour, but no conclusion was reached in the end. They only speculated that the disappearance of the cultivators must have been done by a certain family or sect in the internal martial arts world. The reason was exactly the same as Xia Zhili's speculation. As for the rescue plan, they discussed it for a long time but failed to come to a decision. After all, everybody was well aware of the dangers of the internal martial arts world. Therefore nobody was willing to go. The meeting fell into an impasse again. Therefore they could only end the meeting in a hurry and wait for the follow-up meeting to resolve the issue. After the meeting was over, Song Huawu and Hongzhu went to the tavern next door and found Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao. Looking at the leftovers on the table, the two of them were not too bothered. After all, they were not there to eat. They simply sat down and ordered something to fill their stomachs. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Song Huawu opened her mouth and said, Sorry to have kept you waiting. Xiao Xiao wiped her mouth with a napkin. Looking at the mess on the table, she said in embarrassment, It's all right. We've just finished eating too. The two of them were truly starving. That was why they had eaten so much food in a row. Jin Beibei glanced at Hongzhu and asked in a somewhat vigilant manner, Miss, may I ask how you know me? If I remember correctly, this is the first time we've met each other, isn't it? Right, what's the relationship between you and my cousin-in-law? It seems that you are very familiar with him. Oh, who is your cousin-in-law? Hongzhu lowered his head and had some porridge. He felt refreshed. When Jin Beibei's cousin-in-law suddenly popped into his ears, he did not realize what was going on. He was dazed for a moment and asked back subconsciously. Don't take it to heart, sister. Beibei likes to fool around. Xiao Xiao smiled casually and hurried to explain. The cousin-in-law she mentioned is my brother. We are looking for Xiao Chen. I wonder, how did you two beautiful sisters know Xiao Chen? Oh, I almost forgot. I haven't asked for the names of the two sisters. Oh, my name is Hongzhu. Hongzhu shrugged and finished the porridge in the bowl. Then he looked at Jin Beibei and said apologetically, A few days ago, a subordinate of mine in the mortal world reported to me that a girl named Jin Beibei had come to Little Hong's pharmacy and wanted to talk to me about something important. However, I was rather busy at that time and the name Jean Bebe did not ring a bell. Therefore, I put it aside and did not have the time to pay attention to it. I only remembered it after I heard it today. Oh, so you're Hongzhu. I was wondering how you knew me. Jean Bebe pursed her lips and grumbled a little unhappily, but you are too proud. I went to the pharmacy to leave you a message, but you didn't even reply to me. If Xiao Xiao and I didn't take the initiative to find you, we probably wouldn't have met. Hongzhu smiled and said, I'm sorry. It's just that too many things have happened over the past few days. As you all saw just now, we've been in a meeting for so long that we really haven't been able to take care of everything. Forget it. Bebe is very magnanimous. Jean Bebe waved her hands casually. Although Hongzhu's explanation was not satisfactory, Jean Bebe did not want to argue with him anymore. After all, finding Xiao Chen was the most important thing right now. Seeing that the introduction had come to an end, Xiao Xiao looked at Song Huawu, who had just finished the porridge, and asked, How should I address you, sister? I'm Song Huawu from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. I used to be a partner with Xiao Chen. I wonder, has he ever mentioned me as his girlfriend to you? Although Song Huawu's tone was rather plain, there was a hint of pride in it. Her eyes had never left Jean Bebe and Xiao Zhao's faces. She was staring at them closely. Although Song Huawu had never heard Xiao Chen mention other women before, her woman's intuition told her that the two girls in front of her must have a complicated relationship with Xiao Chen. Jean Bebe, in particular, was very happy every time Xiao Chen's name was mentioned. She was smiling so brightly that her face was almost blooming. She looked rather suspicious. As for Xiao Xiao, Song Huawu felt that since she was Xiao Chen's younger sister, she should not have any ambiguous relationship with Xiao Chen. After all, they were family and related by blood. How could she do such an unethical thing? In fact, Song Huawu was not being petty. She just felt that the women around Xiao Chen were all beauties and of high quality. Although she did not think that Xiao Chen would dislike the old or favor one woman over the other, she was still worried that her position in Xiao Chen's heart might be significantly lowered. My cousin-in-law is so awesome. You can even win over such a beautiful sister. If cousin Minjing learns about it, she will probably be driven mad. Jean Bebe could not have been more excited. She was laughing so hard that her eyes almost disappeared. She could not help but secretly compare Cheng Minjing and Song Huawu. However, no matter how she compared them, Jean Bebe still could not tell who was better. She felt that the two of them seemed to have their own specialties and were on par with each other. However, Song Huawu seemed to be more mature and charming. Sister Bebe, we are talking about serious business right now. Can you not talk about such heartless things? Xiao Xiao looked at Jean Bebe helplessly. She was somewhat upset. She had obviously been triggered by the word girlfriend that Song Huawu had mentioned. However, Xiao Zhao's emotional fluctuation did not escape Song Huawu and Hongzhu's eyes. After looking at each other, they both understood what was on each other's mind. Therefore, they did not intend to pursue the topic further. After all, they were not in the right place and it was not the right time to talk about such things. However, what secretly surprised Song Huawu was that Xiao Xiao was Xiao Chen's younger sister, wasn't she? Was she in love with him too? Wasn't it a bit inappropriate? Was there more to it than meets the eye? Well, if you don't want to talk about it, I won't talk about it. Jean Bebe scratched her nose in boredom. She glanced at Xiao Xiao, feeling somewhat suspicious too. Sister Hongzhu, Sister Huawu, may I ask if you've seen my brother recently? Xiao Xiao shook her head as she cast aside those unpleasant thoughts and asked with an anxious expression. Song Huawu shook her head and answered helplessly, I haven't seen him for more than a year and Hongzhu even longer. So, we are both looking for him too. Xiao Zhao's face immediately fell. She said gloomily, My grandpa and my father are dying of anxiety. They have been looking for my brother for almost a year. Other than the news that he was hunted by the Kuei Mountain sect and that Ma Buqiu, the leader of the Kuei Mountain sect, fell to his death in Lan City, there is no other news about Xiao Chen. That's the same information on our side. It seems that the news about Xiao Chen in the secular world stopped abruptly after that part. Song Huawu slightly frowned. Everybody's information seemed to be more or less the same. Chapter 1107. Could it be that Ma Baoqiao was killed by my cousin-in-law? Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law is so powerful. It's a piece of cake for him to kill a sect leader. Jean Bebe suddenly slammed the table and asked excitedly, her face full of admiration. Oh, I'm not sure about that. Hong Zhu was stunned and poured cold water on Jin Beibei. But I heard that Ma Baoqiao is at the level of Demon King Peak. Xiao Qin shouldn't be able to kill him yet, right? Song Huawu hesitated for a while and turned around to ask, Hong Zhu, can I ask you for a favor? I know you're usually very busy and have a lot of things to do. Can you ask the Hong Ying team to ask the Hong family to investigate it for me? I'm worried that the Quishan sect will fly into a rage out of humiliation and go after Xiao Qin again. Then, his situation will become very dangerous. You don't have to worry about that. After I heard about it, I immediately sent the Hong Ying team to investigate it. Hong Zhu leaned on his seat with a seductive posture and analyzed with a charming voice, although Ma Baocao's death wasn't caused by Xiao Qin, I guess there must have been an accident. So, the Quishan sect isn't well prepared and is still in a mess. As for Xiao Qin, they definitely can't take care of him in a short time. It's still a safety factor. Then why did my brother go missing? Since the Quishan sect didn't kill him, why didn't he come back? At least tell us that he's safe. Xiao Xiao sounded like she was about to cry. Taking a deep look at Xiao Xiao, Hong Zhu pondered and said, although my Hong Ying team can investigate the situation of the Quishan sect, we really can't find the whereabouts of Xiao Qin. I guess, he might have gone missing like the other practitioners. According to the result of our discussion in the previous meeting, it might be a conspiracy of a family or a sect in the internal martial arts world. However, we still don't know who it is. In truth, Hong Zhu was not particularly concerned about Xiao Qin. It was only because Xin Jingxian had repeatedly instructed Hong Zhu to pay attention to Xiao Qin's safety and prevent him from causing too much trouble in the secular world that Hong Zhu had specifically sent people to investigate Xiao Qin. Thinking of the demon that was hiding behind the unknown, the four women fell into silence. Their worry and longing for Xiao Qin only increased. There was a moment of silence. Song Huawu pondered for a while and felt that she still had to find a way to find Xiao Qin. Whether he had gone to the inner martial arts world or other more dangerous places, she had to find him. After all, when she was on the verge of death, Xiao Qin had done everything he could to pull her back from the brink of death. If it wasn't for Xiao Qin's unreserved efforts, the name, Song Huawu, would have vanished into thin air and vanished from everyone's memories. Now that Xiao Qin had encountered an unknown danger, Song Huawu believed that she should spare no effort to save him. No matter how powerful the forces she had to face were, she had to try her best. Hong Zhu. After making up her mind, Song Huawu broke the silence and said in a low voice, during the meeting just now, didn't the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Guild say that if someone was willing to investigate the missing cultivators, he could find a way to escort them into the Inner Martial Arts World? Since she had decided to look for him, she had to enter the Inner Martial Arts World. Song Huawu recalled the vice president's mobilization order from the previous meeting and could not help but feel a little tempted. Before the meeting had begun, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, the Outer Martial Arts World, and the Inner Martial Arts World had already jointly established an alliance investigation team. They had agreed to send people to the Inner Martial Arts World together to investigate the disappearance of the cultivators. Although everyone had unanimously said that they must find the real culprit behind this matter, when it came to deciding on the final candidate to go to the Inner Martial Arts World, they all became hesitant. After all, everyone knew that the situation in the Inner Martial Arts World was ever-changing and very dangerous. None of them were fools. Who would be willing to take the risk to do such a dangerous thing while doing a good job in their own post? During the meeting, the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Warrior Guild had mobilized for a long time, but no one had volunteered. Although the Inner Martial Arts world seemed to be rich in resources and high level, there were powerful experts everywhere. Moreover, it was very difficult to distinguish them. After going there, they might not necessarily provoke someone. If they provoked someone they shouldn't provoke, then they would be done for. It can't be, right? You mean, don't tell me that you want to go to the Inner Martial Arts world yourself just to look for Xiao Qin? Hong Zhu asked with some surprise. She really did not expect that Song Huawu would have such deep feelings for Xiao Qin. She would even disregard her life for him. Seeing that Song Huawu had firmly nodded, Hong Zhu frowned, but still tried to persuade her out of goodwill. Huawu, I think you should first think about it carefully before making a decision. The situation in the Inner Martial Arts world is much more complicated than you think. If you enter the Inner Martial Arts world with your current strength, it is very likely that you will be left there. Hong Zhu, you don't need to persuade me, I have already decided. Song Huawu clenched her fists and said with a resolute face, I can't let Xiao Qin suffer in the Inner Martial Arts world alone, while I live freely and happily outside. I must rescue him, and even if I can't rescue him, I must die together with him. Because I don't want to be an ungrateful person, and live a life filled with guilt. Song Hua-woo had always been a person who could clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. In her opinion, she had finally let down her guard with great difficulty, and had set her mind on Xiao Chen. If she could never be together with him in the future, then there would be no meaning in living in this world. Great. Bebe is also going to the inner martial arts world to find my cousin-in-law. Sister Hua-woo, take me with you. If you run into any danger, we can take care of each other. Jean Bebe danced with joy and said to Song Hua-woo excitedly. Although she had heard that the inner martial arts world seemed to be very dangerous, Jean Bebe felt that she had always been lucky and would certainly not run into any trouble. Then I will go with you. Xiao Xiao thought for a moment and also said, I can't go back to the Xiao family just like this. Now that I know that my brother might show up in the inner martial arts world, I have to find him and bring him back. Otherwise, my grandpa and my father will worry for nothing when they know it. Bebe Xiao Xiao, you two should stop fooling around with Song Hua-woo. It is already troublesome enough for her to go to the inner martial arts world on her own. She can barely take care of herself and has no time to take care of other people at all. You'd better stay here peacefully and wait for the news. Hongzhu was greatly shocked and hurried to stop them. She was somewhat resentful. She had intended to persuade Song Hua-woo to give up the idea of going to the inner martial arts world on her own. But now, not only did Song Hua-woo fail to persuade her, even Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were going with her. Chapter 1108. Sister Hongzhu, don't worry about our safety. Sister Hua-woo doesn't need to look after us. We can take care of ourselves. Also, I'm already a martial master. Nobody would dare to cause us trouble if we beat them up. Jean Bebe waved her little fists in excitement, not taking it seriously at all. Well? Hongzhu's back was drenched in cold sweat. You're only a martial master. How can you call yourself a master? You should know that all the people in the inner martial arts world are martial kings and martial venerables. You're just a martial master. Aren't you a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth? However, seeing the determination in Song Hua-woo, Jean Bebe, and Xiao Zhao's eyes, Hongzhu knew that he could not change their mind no matter what he said. Okay. I agree with you, but I have a condition. I have to go with you. Otherwise, I will never agree. Hongzhu nodded helplessly. She was now the manager of the Hong Chamber of Commerce in the outer martial arts world. However, the Hong family belonged to the inner martial arts world and had to travel between the inner and outer martial arts world. Therefore, it was normal for her to join the inner martial arts world. She could protect these girls. Besides, she had promised Shen Jingxian that she would protect Xiao Chen. Since he might be in danger, she certainly could not ignore it. Otherwise, she would be blamed by Shen Jingxian. Wow, that's great. Bebe's invincible adventure team is established. Our goal is to bring Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law back in one piece. Jean Bebe cheered. It seemed that she could not wait to show off her skills. After the meal, the girls found the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts Guild and told him the details. Hongzhu and Song Hua-woo introduced Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao to him. Although they had met each other just now, they had not introduced them formally. The vice president was very happy when he heard that someone was willing to join the investigation team. However, after asking about their strength, he immediately shook his head like a rattled drum and refused to let them join the investigation team. All of them hadn't even reached the Martial King realm or the Demon King realm, yet they still wanted to investigate others? It would be great if they were not investigated. The risk was too great. However, what the vice president didn't expect was that these girls would take turns to beg, act cute, act coquettishly, and even threaten him in the end. Unable to resist, the vice president had no choice but to agree to their request. But even though he agreed, he also raised a few conditions and warnings. First of all, after entering the inner martial arts world, the warrior guild would no longer provide any help, and it was impossible for them to send people out to protect the girls. The reason was very simple. This investigation was an extremely secretive operation. If their whereabouts were exposed, the entire Inner Martial Arts Guild would be destroyed in an instant. Secondly, no one else would participate in this operation. So, no matter what trouble the girls encountered, they were not allowed to expose the guild. Otherwise, their families would be severely punished. Finally, if someone spilled the beans or if someone learned of the inside story under various circumstances, and came to the guild to ask, the internal Wulin Warrior Guild would also completely deny the secret operation, so the girls needed to pay more attention to it. Song Huawu and the other girls whispered to each other for a while and reached a consensus. This time they were mainly going to find Xiaoqin. As for the investigation of the missing cultivators, they had to wait until they found Xiaoqin. Besides, they also felt that it would be inconvenient to act if there were too many people. Therefore they agreed to the requirements gladly. Naturally, the vice president did not know what they were planning. Seeing that they had agreed, he did not say anything else but arranged a well-concealed channel and sent them into the inner martial arts world with his subordinates. Everything went well on the way. After they arrived safely, the vice president repeatedly warned the girls to pay attention to their own safety. Then, when nobody was paying attention to them, he left quickly with his subordinates. Although Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao had entered the inner martial arts world with zeal, they had not made any plans or arrangements after they entered the place. They did not have the time to consider it all. They did not have the slightest clue about how they should inquire about Xiaoqian's whereabouts. Also, having just entered the inner martial arts world, the three of them were rather curious about the environment around them, but they were quite nervous. Thinking of the warning that the inner martial arts world was highly dangerous, they did not dare greet other people casually and were always on high alert. Seeing the three girls' attitude, Hongzhu was somewhat helpless too. She could only take them to an inn and check in. Then she went out and bought some clothes for them. She changed them into the ancient clothes that were in line with the symbol of the inner martial arts world. Then she briefly explained some of the rules of the inner martial arts world to them and arranged for them to take a rest. Hongzhu was very clear that it was not suitable for her to investigate immediately given the current situation. She planned to wait for the girls to adapt to the new environment for a few days before she began to investigate the whereabouts of the missing cultivators and Xiaoqian. When Song Huawu and her companions arrived at the inner martial arts world, what was Xiaoqian doing? He was riding his flying sword in the sky, taking Chixing, Tian Suruan, and Tang Tang to open heaven gate. Ha! As Xiaoqian flew, he suddenly sensed something. He stopped and floated in the air, turning his head to look in another direction. What's wrong? What happened? Did someone catch up with us? Chixing asked in surprise when she saw Xiaoqian's abnormal behavior. Well, no, I just had a strange feeling. I can't explain it. Xiaoqian was also stunned after he stopped, not knowing what was wrong with him. Just now, he had a vague feeling that someone was calling him in a friendly way, but when he listened carefully he found nothing. Oh, have we arrived? Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan stuck his head out from behind Tang Tang and asked curiously. Well, it's still early. It's estimated that there's still half the journey. If you're hungry, take some dry food from the bag and eat. Xiaoqian shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Eating dry food all the time, Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan curled his lips. He hadn't had a good rest after traveling day and night for the past few days. Although he wasn't physically tired, he was still mentally tired. Xiaoqian, let's go down. It's not suitable to use flying swords for the rest of the journey. Xiaoqian was about to make a few jokes when Chixing looked ahead for a while and suddenly said, what? Xiaoqian was a little puzzled. Although he didn't know what Chixing wanted to do, he still controlled the flying sword and slowly landed on the ground. Because we have already flown more than half the distance. A few hundred miles ahead is the boundary of the open heaven gate. Little girl Xing pointed to a direction in front of them and explained, if we continue to go forward and use flying swords instead of walking, it will be too conspicuous and it will be very easy to be discovered. Chapter 1109. Jin Beibei was so infuriated that her little face was livid and pale. She was itching to burst into rage and beat up the guard. However, considering the situation she was in, she could only hold back her anger and hide behind the guard. However, it did not work at all. Well, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll be fine after resting for a while. Xiao Xiao comforted the others, looking a little upset. If it weren't for the fact that she was too weak, she wouldn't have been a burden to them. Fortunately, the girls did not endure it for long. A young man with an arrogant expression came over. When the leading guard saw him, he immediately jumped to him and bowed to him with a big smile. Xiaoqin and Xing Chix smiled helplessly and helped Tang Tang to walk forward. The intimacy they had felt before did not appear again, so Xiaoqin did not take it to heart anymore. Hongzhu unloaded his backpack and took out some water and food. He distributed them to the other three girls while he observed the situation in front of them. He said, "You guys should eat something to fill your stomach first. There's a town about 3 kilometers ahead. We'll stay there tonight." After pondering for a while, Xiaoqin nodded and said, "Oh? Okay then. Let's go on foot. It's only a few days anyway." Tang Tang should be able to hold on. Song Huawu was stunned and did not know how to answer for a moment. She felt a little baffled. There was not even a sign nearby. Who would know that this was the territory of the Tang family? Seeing that Hongzhu did not respond, the girls fell silent too, and waited for the person in charge of the Tang family that the leading guard mentioned. Although it would take more time to go to the open heaven gate on foot, it was much better than exposing their traces. I don't know the name of this place either. But there seems to be a family nearby. Let me think. Right. This is... Before Hongzhu's voice died away, his face suddenly changed. Rustling noises came from not far away. Then more than 10 guys dressed as guards rushed out of the dense forest and surrounded them. However, like the other 3 girls, there were not many people who accepted Hongzhu's offer. There were also some people who saw that these girls were very beautiful and openly took liberties with them. Although they did not do anything frivolous, it still made these girls feel very unhappy. However, they were not as strong as Hongzhu, so they could only grit their teeth, swallow their anger, and stay far away. Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao did not know the first thing about the internal martial arts world. Therefore they could only ask with their mouths with little success. Hongzhu's family, on the other hand, was a medium-sized family in the internal martial arts world, and they appeared to be mainly engaged in business. Therefore she could only try to ask for intelligence from other people. Every time the women put on a smiling face and asked questions, they would always run into a wall. The cultivators they met basically didn't know anything. Some of them were even extremely unfriendly and didn't bother to cooperate and answer their questions. They didn't even give them a good look. Although they had already prepared themselves for things to not go smoothly, what they did not expect was that they could not even take the first step, let alone, not going smoothly. But not too long after, Hongzhu began to feel a little uncomfortable. She could see the vulgar gazes of the guards constantly sweeping between her and the other women, and even whispering to each other with dirty smiles on their faces, which made her feel very uncomfortable. Song Huawu and the rest of them also noticed that something was wrong, especially the leader of the guards. His eyes were staring at Jin Beibei's breasts without blinking. His eyes were so blatant that they seemed to be glued to them. The young man talked to the leader of the guards in a low voice first. Then he turned around and looked at Song Huawu and the rest of them. However, when his eyes fell on Hongzhu, he was stunned for a moment. Song Huawu took over the bottle of mineral water and had a sip. Then she turned around and looked at the strange environment around and asked, "Hongzhu, where are we right now? Why does it seem that everywhere around here is the same?" On this day while they were walking, Xiao Xiao's legs suddenly gave way, and she fell to the ground, probably because she was too tired. Jin Beibei and Song Huawu happened to be walking behind her. They were greatly shocked to see that and immediately helped Xiao Xiao to the side of the road to sit on a boulder to check her wounds. "Brother, don't be too nervous. We are all from the Hong family." Hongzhu cupped his fists. Relying on the convenience of his family, he easily replied, "A few disciples of our Hong family mysteriously disappeared a while ago, so the family head specially sent us out to inquire about their whereabouts. We just so happened to pass by your precious land and wanted to head to the small town up ahead, but we didn't expect to accidentally enter the Tang family's territory. Please do us a favor." Xiao Qin had been carrying the black badge with him all the time. Although he did not know how to use it, it seemed that as long as Tang Tang was around the badge she would keep quiet and eat and sleep, except that she did not have any divine sense. "Xiao Xiao, are you all right? Let's take a rest here for a while. We've been on the road for half a day. You must be hungry too." Hongzhu turned around and examined Xiao Xiao's condition carefully. He discovered that she had only sprained her ankle and should be fine. She was probably too tired to walk. "You are from the Hong family?" The leader of the guards eyed Hongzhu suspiciously and winked at the guards behind him. Then he took out his phone and walked to the side. The dozen or so guards, on the other hand, were guarding Hongzhu and his companions solemnly. The leader of the guards was very tall and sturdy. He glanced at Song Huawu and her companions with his eyes as sharp as swords and demanded loudly, "How dare you? How dare you break into the Tang family's territory without permission? What are you doing? Explain yourself now." Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, were both startled. They looked at Hongzhu uneasily. After all, they were in the inner martial arts world, which was different from the secular world. Therefore they did not dare to speak carelessly. After staying in the inn for 2 days, Song Huawu and her companions finally lost their curiosity and wariness toward the inner martial arts world and gradually melted into the atmosphere of the inner martial arts world. Seeing that it was about time, Hongzhu led them to inquire about Xiao Chen and the other missing cultivators. Hong Zhu frowned slightly. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the arrogant attitude of the leader of the guards. However, they were surrounded by so many armed people and Xiao Xiao had sprained her ankle. It was not convenient for them to move around. Therefore they had no choice but to wait. Oh yeah. Then Sister Sour Sour can go to the town in front and have a feast. Let's go. Tian Sour Sour was so happy that she jumped up and down and ran forward excitedly. The leader of the guards dialed a number and said a few words in a low voice. Then he turned around and arrogantly said to Hong Zhu, "All of you stay here and don't move. I suspect that your identities are fake. You can only leave after the person in charge of the Tang family comes to verify your identities." Chapter 11:10. Aya, isn't this the second daughter of the Hong family? What a distinguished guest. Why didn't you tell us in advance that you were coming to visit our Tang family? So that I could have sent someone to welcome you, right? Tang Qinshi immediately rushed over and said with a smile on his face. That's right, it's not a misunderstanding. When he received the call from the leading guard, he didn't come over immediately. Instead, he went to Tang Qianling's room and briefly reported the situation. Tang Qianling panicked when he learned that the group of people who had inexplicably appeared were looking for the missing disciples of the Hong family. Wasn't this what he had done? Could it be that there were people from the Hong family among those cultivators? But no one had told him about it. What a trap. Even if they were looking for someone, they couldn't have just randomly looked for them. Now they had come knocking on his door, hadn't they? However, after panicking for a while, Tang Qianling quickly calmed down. After thinking for a while, he felt that the matter was definitely not that simple. Although the shady business he had done could not see the light of day, he still had basic common sense. Moreover, all this time he had ordered his subordinates to look for people from the martial arts world and the secular world. It was impossible for anyone to be so bold as to use people from the martial arts world as experiments. Tang Qianling believed that they were not that stupid. In order to figure out the real intentions of this group of people, Tang Qianling decided not to show up for the time being. He would let Tang Qinshi first get some information from the Hong family, and then act according to the circumstances. Tang Qinshi, that's enough. Don't talk so sarcastically. Since you know who I am, why don't you hurry up and tell those guards to get out of the way? I still have serious matters to attend to, and I don't have time to chat with you here. Although Tang Qinshi was very attentive, Hong Zhu did not pretend to be polite and said impatiently. Previously, she had already been baptized by the gazes of the surrounding guards countless times, which had already made her extremely unhappy. Now that a sloppy and disgraceful person had come, Hong Zhu's mood was extremely terrible. Most importantly, this guy in front of her, whose eyes were shining, had once had a crush on her. Although Tang Qinshi had only seen Hong Zhu once or twice, Hong Zhu's gentle and enchanting seductive charm had completely captivated him. He firmly believed that Hong Zhu was the love of his life, and launched an incomparably powerful offensive to pursue her. He had also anonymously sent Hong Zhu many expensive gifts, each gift containing a love letter. What kind of personality did Hong Zhu have? Naturally, she looked down on a lackey like Tang Qinshi who licked people's soles. Even if Tang Qinshi's gifts were always anonymous, she could still guess that those gifts were from this guy. So, every time she received a gift, she would throw it away or directly give it to her servant girl. As for those love letters, Hong Zhu couldn't even be bothered to look at them. He tore them up the moment he received them, not even bothering to dirty his hands. However, Tang Qinshi did not know about this. After all, Hong Zhu was so mysterious that he had only met him a few times. He thought that Hong Zhu had accepted all the gifts. Therefore, Tang Qinshi was always secretly delighted, fantasizing that one day he would be able to bring home a beauty. Miss Hong Zhu, don't be so anxious. We haven't seen each other for so long, but you're still so beautiful. Can't we catch up first? Tang Qinshi quickly walked up to Hong Zhu and took a whiff of her faint body fragrance. He felt as if he was floating in the air. What does it have to do with you whether I'm pretty or not? We're going forward now. Do you have anything to do? If there's nothing else, we're leaving. Hong Zhu glared at him and prepared to leave. Hey, wait. Tang Qinshi hurriedly stopped Hong Zhu. He suppressed the turmoil in his heart and said with a smile, I just heard from my subordinates that a few disciples of the Hong family have gone missing. What's going on? If you need any help, don't hesitate to tell me. Tang Qinshi. Oh no, the Tang family is very willing to lend a helping hand. Let's just talk. Why are you standing so close to me? Seeing that Tang Qinshi was about to stick to her, Hong Zhu glared at him disdainfully and immediately took a few steps back to maintain a certain distance from Tang Qinshi. Then she said calmly, I appreciate the Tang family's kindness, but this is the Hong family's internal matter. We don't need anyone else to interfere. You only need to ask these guards to make way for us. Who are these three beautiful girls? Hongzhu, why don't you introduce them to me? Look, I've been focusing all my attention on you and almost ignored them. Pretending that he did not hear Hongzhu's words, Tang Qianqi turned around and asked Song Huawu, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao attentively. Sweeping his eyes over them, Tang Qianqi discovered that all three of them were rare beauties. Moreover, each of them had a different appearance compared to Hongzhu, and each of them had their own merits. Standing there, they were very eye-catching, causing Tang Qianqi to involuntarily take a few more glances. In fact, Tang Qianqi had an unknown hobby, which was to collect the photos of beautiful girls. As long as it was a beautiful girl from the internal martial arts circle, he would have their photos in his hands. He often took them out to admire and play with them. He had a lot of photos of Hongzhu. Therefore, when he saw Song Huawu, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao, he immediately determined that the three girls were not from the internal martial arts circle. Otherwise, it was impossible that he did not recognize such beautiful girls. They are. Hongzhu was slightly taken aback. She really hadn't considered this question before, so she hesitated and didn't answer. Her mind was spinning rapidly as she considered how she could come up with a reasonable identity to fool Tang Qianqi. Jin Beibei keenly sensed that something was wrong. She immediately stood out and answered on behalf of Hongzhu, holding her chest high. The three of us are Miss Hongzhu's maids. This time, we were ordered to accompany her on a trip to inquire about the whereabouts of the missing disciples of the Hong family and take care of her daily life. Song Huawu and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. They were also smart enough to understand Jin Beibei's intention after thinking for a moment. Therefore, they hurried to nod in agreement. So, you are all maids? Tang Qianqi stared at Jin Beibei's breasts covetously and then repeated himself. Naturally, he did not believe Jin Beibei's **t, but he could not find anything suspicious at the moment. Yes, they are all my maids. So what? Do I have to tell you that I brought a few maids with me? Is the Tang family the dominator of the internal martial arts circle? Aren't you being too nosy? Hongzhu was secretly relieved. She pretended to be angry and continued, secretly praising Jin Beibei's quick reflexes. Otherwise, she really did not know how she should explain herself. Tang Qianqi did not say anything but continued eyeing Jin Beibei and the other girls up and down, with lecherous brilliance beaming out of his bean-sized eyes. Right when Song Huawu's face turned gloomy and she was about to burst into rage, Tang Qianqi suddenly put on a weird smile and said casually, Why do I feel that you do not look like her maids? Tang Qianqi finally stood in front of Hongzhu and said in a sinister voice. Although it was true that Tang Qianqi had a crush on Hongzhu, he was more interested in the former. It was to be the leader of the Tang family. Tang Qianqi was not to be a Zhu to be to him too. That to him. After Tang Qianling took over the power of the Tang family, he would definitely rise to the top with him. At that time he would have all the women he wanted. It was even possible for him to kiss Hongzhu. Maybe Hongzhu would even run to him and beg him to spend the rest of his life with her. On the other hand, if he went against Tang Qianling's will in order to please Hongzhu, he would definitely end up miserably. He might even lose his life. Therefore, Tang Qianqi was very clear that he would not give up the whole forest for a tree. Sister Hongzhu, this guy's logic is so weird. It's just a pair of sneakers. What's there to be surprised about? Jin Beibei rolled her eyes and suddenly thought of something. She pursed her lips and said loudly, Little girl, don't be so stubborn. I'm telling you, in the internal martial arts world you can go and take a look. Nobody will wear shoes like yours. It's such an obvious loophole and you say that there's no need to make a fuss? Tang Qianqi sneered and said with a mocking expression. Jin Beibei rolled her eyes at Tang Qianqi. She bent down and wiped off the dust on her sneakers. Then she stood straight and said in disdain, What do you know? The Hong family is mainly engaged in business. We often go to the secular world. Of course, we have to dress like ordinary people and blend in with the crowd. You don't even know that? You are too inexperienced. *CK. You are just a maid. How dare you talk back to me? Tang Qianqi was infuriated after being ridiculed for no reason. He pointed at Hongzhu and said, Stop arguing with me. Even the second daughter of your family is wearing deerskin boots. Why are you wearing sneakers? It doesn't make any sense at all. I told you that you don't know anything, but you really don't. The more Jean Bebe talked, the smoother she became. She said matter-of-factly, "Deerskin boots are so expensive. Sister Hongzhu can wear them, but we are just maids. Are we qualified to wear them? Besides, compared with your cloth shoes, sneakers are, of course, more comfortable for us to walk on the mountain. You don't know anything and you want me to educate you? You are such a fool. You." Tang Chenchi flew into a rage. He was about to burst into anger when he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Rolling his eyes, he said with a sneaky smile, "Since you are Hongzhu's maids, you should call her Miss. Why did you call her Sister Hongzhu directly? Don't you know the basic rules? What do you think? Did you spill the beans? Did you see through it? What are you talking about? We are very close to Sister Hongzhu. Is it strange that we call each other sisters? You, on the other hand." Jean Bebe did not think it was a big deal. Pointing at Tang Chenchi, she said angrily, "You seem to be up to no good. How can you call Sister Hongzhu Miss? Do you know what kind of people are usually called Miss in the secular world?" Hongzhu cooperated with her in a timely manner. He snorted and glared at Tang Chenchi in disgust. Well, Tang Chenchi was dazed for a moment. Although he had never been to the secular world, he still knew the basic knowledge. Miss was usually used to address the girls who had lost their footing. Looking at Hongzhu's gloomy face, Tang Chenchi was immediately rendered speechless. He meant to explain that it was not what he meant, but he could not bring himself to say it. Damn it. This big-breasted girl was really good at bullshitting. What do you mean by this and that? Did you not take your medicine before you went out today? Jean Bebe waved her hands as if she were dismissing a lackey. She said impatiently, "Hurry up and get rid of them. Why don't you have any eyesight? We have a lot of things to do. We don't have time to watch you act up here. What the F***ck? I don't believe that I can't teach you a lesson today." Seeing that Jean Bebe was about to step out, Tang Chenchi finally came back to himself and stopped her immediately. Jean Bebe's face fell. How unlucky. The series of words just now failed to scare this guy. Bebe was such a failure. Chapter 11-12. After stopping it, Tang Chenchi immediately winked at the leading guard and ordered fiercely, "Go. Capture those girls. Bring them all back to the Tang family and lock them up first. We will interrogate them slowly after the leader is done with his business." Wait. Hongzhu hurriedly stood in front of Jean Bebe and the others when he heard this, and he said with a gloomy expression, "Tang Chenchi, regardless of whether you believe it or not, they are indeed members of the Hong clan. If you dare to detain them, then you're going against the Hong clan. If the leader of the Hong family learns about it, he will definitely not let you go. Don't use Hong Dingwei as an excuse." Tang Chenchi did not buy it at all. He squinted at Hongzhu and said, "Let me make it clear to you. If you are not a member of the Hong family, I can execute you on the spot for trespassing on the Tang family's territory. The Hong family will not be able to reason with you." Hongzhu was furious, but he could not do anything to Tang Chenchi. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After saying that, Tang Chenchi turned around and ordered the leading guard again, "What are you waiting for? Take them all away. Lock them in the dungeon of the Tang family first. Don't come any closer, or I won't show any mercy." Seeing that the guards had surrounded them like wolves and tigers, Song Huawu immediately activated her mental cultivation method and assumed a stance, revealing the strength of a 9th-level martial master. It was a pity that, although she had been training hard and her strength had improved a lot over the past year, she was still not strong enough in the inner martial arts world. Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were also ready for battle. However, they were even weaker. The former was only a 6th-level martial master, and the latter was only a 5th-level martial warrior. Yo, am I seeing things? You are not even as strong as the lowest-level guards of the Tang family. Are you going to fight back? Tang Chenchi said disdainfully after he saw the strength of the girls. He had come here to take away the suspicious people who had trespassed on the Tang family's territory for questioning. Now that he saw the girls resisting with their lives, he was even more certain that there was something wrong with them. The guards revealed disdainful smiles as well, and then they roared loudly and revealed the strength of various martial generals. The weakest amongst them was at the 3rd layer of the martial general realm, and the leader of the guards was even at the perfection stage of the martial general realm. They didn't take Jean Bebe and the others seriously at all. Huawu, don't be too rash. The situation had changed too quickly and Hongzhu hurriedly stopped the women, feeling a little anxious in his heart. If a fight broke out, they would definitely be charged with assaulting a Tang family guard. What do you think? Miss Hongzhu, why don't you just tell me what these people are here for? Don't be too stubborn, otherwise, you'll end up hurting everyone's relationship. Tang Qianqi slowly flicked his sleeves as he lecherously said to Hongzhu. They are indeed servants of the Hong family. I've already told you what they did. Hongzhu's face was as cold as frost as he said in an icy voice, from the way you're acting, don't tell me you want to capture me and imprison me as well. Oh my, how would I dare to do that? Tang Qianqi's expression did not change at all. He was still smiling as he said, Miss Hongzhu is an honored guest of our Tang family. I can't wait to serve you, so why would I capture you? It's just that these people are suspicious, so I have to bring them back for investigation. Hongzhu bit his lower lip and thought for a while. Finally he made a decision. He pulled Song Huawu's hand and said in a low voice, Huawu, these people are too strong. Why don't you go with them first? You can take care of Bebe and Xiao Xiao. I'll return to the Hong family immediately and report to our family head to rescue you. But Song Huawu hesitated for a moment. She was not thinking about her own situation, but that Xiao Chen might still be in dire straits. However, when she turned her head to look at the ferocious guards around her, she could only nod helplessly and agree. All right, then come back as soon as possible. We can't waste too much time. Hongzhu agreed and let go of her hand. Seeing this, Tang Qianqi immediately yelled at the guards fiercely, You guys, why are you still standing there like idiots? Hurry up and take them away. After the guards had taken the women away, Tang Qianqi regained his smile. He looked at Hongzhu proudly and pretended to be in a difficult position as he said, Hongzhu, don't blame me for being heartless. I'm just following young Master Ling's instructions. Don't worry, as long as there's no problem with their identities, I promise to send them back to the Hong family in one piece and into your hands. Tang Qianqi, I'm telling you, don't even think about doing anything to them. If they lose even a single hair on their heads, I won't let you and Tang Qianling off. Hongzhu stomped his feet angrily and hatefully. He looked deeply at the backs of Song Huawu and the others as they left, then turned around and hurried in the direction of the Hong family. Take care. If you bring anyone to the Tang family as a guest next time, remember to give me a call first, or even send me a WeChat message. Tang Qianqi waved his hand and stared at Hongzhu's perky buttocks for a while, his lower abdomen burning with desire. Only after Hongzhu had disappeared did Tang Qianqi subconsciously lick his lips and think to himself, You little hussy, why are you pretending to be a decent girl? Aren't you just a collateral relative of the Hong family? I'll get you on my bed sooner or later. But thinking was just thinking, and Tang Qianqi really did not dare to do anything rash. Although the Hong family was not as strong as the Tang family, they still had the Song family to help them. The strength of the big families in the internal martial arts world was actually not that different. Therefore, if the two families joined forces, they would be much stronger than any of the three big families. If the Tang family really angered these two families and a fight broke out, not only would the Tang family not be able to gain any advantage, they might even suffer a huge setback. Therefore, Tang Qianqi also knew that although he was in the right, he definitely could not do anything stupid. He only ordered his men to lock up Song Huawu and the others, not daring to have any improper thoughts about them. He also strictly forbade the other guards from touching them. Hongzhu rushed all the way back to the Hong family. He did not care about the rules and directly ran to the head of the Hong family, Hong Dingwei, for help. But strangely, whether it was the study or the bedroom, Hongzhu could not find any trace of the family head. This made Hongzhu a little puzzled. Grandpa family head usually stayed at home and rarely went out, so why wasn't he home today? Could it be that Grandpa family head was hiding from him? He shouldn't know that I'm back either. Isn't this our little Hongzhu? I heard that you went to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to attend a meeting. Why are you back so early? Just as Hongzhu was feeling helpless, a gentle male voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Chapter 11:13. Hongzhu turned his head to look, only to see a young man walking in from the entrance. He had a fair and clean appearance, and his originally handsome and heroic face was set off by the white robes he was wearing, making him appear even more elegant and handsome. Qingshu, you're here? Did you see where Grandpa Patriarch went? I have something very important to discuss with him. Hongzhu was overjoyed and hurriedly ran over to ask. The person was called Song Qingshu, the second young master of the Song family. Because the relationship between the two families was extremely harmonious, he often came to visit the Hong family and play chess with Hong Dingwei. Grandpa Hong isn't here? I even specially came to visit him. If I had known earlier, I would have called and asked. Song Qingshu looked around the hall for a while and found that Hong Dingwei was indeed not there, so he could only shake his head regretfully. Turning around, Song Qingshu saw Hong Zhu's anxious expression and couldn't help but tease. What happened? Little Hong Zhu, you're actually so flustered. Could it be that some kid has bad eyesight and has taken a fancy to you, so he's here to propose marriage to Patriarch Hong? Don't talk nonsense. Hong Zhu rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu and took out his cell phone to dial Hong Dingwei's number. However, when he heard that he was not in the service area, he couldn't help but become even more anxious. What's wrong with Grandpa Patriarch? Why didn't he go out earlier or later? He just had to go out when I have something urgent to discuss with him. And I can't even get through to his cell phone. What should I do? Alright, don't be anxious. What happened? Song Qingshu said to Hong Zhu as if he were coaxing a child. Why don't you tell me first? I might even be able to help you out with some ideas. Did someone provoke you? Tell me the name of that person and I promise I'll beat him until he looks like a pig. You can put him in any shape you want. Song Qingshu still didn't know what had happened, but judging from Hong Zhu's expression, it was indeed a little troublesome. Although Hong Zhu was not a direct descendant of the Hong family of the inner martial arts world, she was only a member of the outer martial arts world's Hong Chamber of Commerce. The Hong family's patriarch, Hong Dingwei, was her paternal grandfather, but this little girl had often followed her grandfather to the inner martial arts world's Hong family to report on business. As a result, she had gradually become familiar with Song Qingshu. Hong Zhu's appearance was coquettish, but her temperament was very magnanimous. Song Qingshu was very fond of her, so he had always treated Hong Zhu as his own little sister. Now that she saw Hong Zhu, who was usually very meticulous in his planning, being so anxious, Song Qingshu was naturally very concerned. How should I say this? Hong Zhu hesitated for a moment before he gathered his courage and said, I was originally going to attend a meeting. Then, I brought a few friends into the inner martial arts world to investigate some missing people. We accidentally trespassed into the Tang family's territory, and they were all captured by that bastard Tang Qianqi. Although Hong Zhu did not know if Song Qingshu would be able to help him, he had no choice but to tell her everything that had happened in the absence of the family head. Tang Qianqi? I remember now, it's Tang Qianling's lackey. If I remember correctly, he used to pursue you, right? He even gave you a lot of gifts and then you... Song Qingshu chuckled. He wanted to tease Tang Qianqi about how he had pursued Hong Zhu in the past, but Hong Zhu cut him off. Don't mention this person. Just hearing his name makes me angry. Aren't we just passing through the Tang family's territory? We're not going to find trouble with them, so what's the big deal? He actually has the guts to detain all my friends. What a lunatic. Pervert. Shameless. Hong Zhu said angrily, wishing he could directly cut Tang Qianqi into 8 pieces and feed them to the dogs. Alright, don't be angry. Tell me the names of your friends first. In any case, the family head isn't here right now. In a moment, I'll go find Tang Qianqi and bring your friends back, Song Qingshu said with a smile as he patted Hong Zhu's head. In Song Qingshu's opinion, he was the second young master of the Song family, so even the family head of the Tang family had to give some face to the Hong family and the Song family. Tang Qianqi was just an errand boy. No matter how arrogant he was, he would still have to take the initiative to release his friends, right? That can't be right? You're going just like that? Hong Zhu looked at Song Qingshu suspiciously. Don't try to fool me. Even though I'm usually in the martial arts world, I know that the Tang family is one of the 3 great families of the martial arts world, and there are countless experts in the family. Do you really think you can single-handedly rescue them? Hong Zhu wasn't doubting Song Qingshu's strength. It was undeniable that his cultivation was indeed very high, and he was also one of the few extremely talented juniors of the Song family. However, how could he contend against the entire Tang family with just his strength alone? You don't need to worry about that. Others may not understand my strength, but you should be very clear about it. Song Qingshu waved his hand, clearly very confident in himself. He then reached out and scratched Hong Zhu's nose with a smile. Besides, didn't my big brother and I always help you solve the troubles you encountered when you were young? Oh, I believe you. Why bring up the past? Hong Zhu was a little embarrassed and rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu. In the past, he was especially mischievous and liked to tease the children of other families. He often got into trouble, and the Song brothers would always help him smooth things over. Now that he thought about it, he felt a little embarrassed. Haha, isn't that enough? Song Qingshu smiled and said lightly, "You just need to tell me the names of your friends. Don't worry about anything else. I promise I'll bring them back safely." Then, all right. I have 3 friends in total. They're called Jin Beibei, Song Huawu and Xiao Xiao. Hongzhu nodded. She first told him the names of the girls, and then she was about to describe their appearances. However, when she opened her mouth, she pondered for a moment and then said, "How about this, I'll go with you. It's better to be safe in case that stinky pervert Tang Qianqi plays any more tricks." "Wait, did you just say that there's someone called Song Huawu?" Song Qingshu was suddenly stunned, and his whole body became a little nervous. Hongzhu nodded with a little confusion. Song Qingshu immediately frowned and asked with a serious expression, "What does Song Huawu look like? How did she end up with you? Is she from the Secular World's Supernatural Investigation Bureau?" "How do you know?" "She's a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Originally, she entered the inner martial arts world this time to investigate the missing cultivators with me, but I didn't expect to run into such an unlucky thing." Hongzhu sighed slightly, feeling a little guilty. He blamed himself for being too careless. He usually entered the inner martial arts world, so he didn't think too much about it. If he had known this earlier, he would have investigated the route before going, and he wouldn't have wasted so much time. Chapter 11:14. He even dares to detain Huawu? Is that brat Tang Qianqi tired of living? Song Qingshu suddenly snorted coldly. His originally refined and gentle demeanor disappeared, as if he had become a different person. An oppressive aura suddenly surged from his body, and a furious and violent aura soared into the sky. "Ah, Qingshu, what's wrong? Do you know Huawu?" Hongzhu was greatly startled. Looking at the cold expression on Song Qingshu's face, he felt as if there was a ferocious beast standing in front of him. Song Qingshu did not answer. Instead, he coldly said, "Hongzhu, let's go to the Tang family now. I want to see how many lives that lackey Tang Qianqi has. How much courage does he have to give him such power?" This. Hongzhu was somewhat surprised when he saw Song Qingshu's cold eyes, but he still subconsciously followed behind him. Although he did not know why Song Qingshu was so angry, Hongzhu did not dare to ask. He could only carry his heart full of doubts as he sped in the direction of the Tang family. Under the spur of the horse, the two of them smoothly arrived at the Tang family's residence in no time. There were still many guards patrolling the perimeter of the Tang family's residence, vigilantly observing their surroundings. However, what surprised Hongzhu was that Song Qingshu seemed to have been here several times. He led Hongzhu inside with ease, perfectly avoiding all the patrolling guards in the vicinity, and directly walked towards a certain courtyard. When they arrived at the courtyard, Hongzhu carefully looked around and discovered that there were no guards patrolling the place. The entire courtyard was frighteningly quiet, with only the faint sound of voices coming from the largest room in front. Hongzhu was just about to ask Song Qingshu what they should do next, but when he turned his head, he saw that Song Qingshu had not said a word and was instead rushing towards that room. Bang! Song Qingshu fiercely kicked the door open and swaggered into the room without saying a word. Hongzhu was once again shocked by Song Qingshu's actions. Isn't this a little too arrogant? It must be known that the Tang family was one of the 3 great families of the internal martial arts circle. Yet he had rashly rushed in like this. Wasn't this just seeking his own death? Did Song Qingshu take the wrong medicine? But now that it had already happened, Hongzhu could not turn back time. She had to save Song Qingshu first, so she only hesitated for a moment before putting away her timid attitude. She took a deep breath and braced herself to follow Song Qingshu into the room. "Who are you? How dare you barge into young Master Ling's room? Do you want to die?" A familiar voice called out. Hongzhu raised his head and saw that it was Tang Qianqi, who had assumed a defensive stance and was glaring at him. Tang Qianling, who was sitting next to him, was sitting leisurely with his legs crossed, but at this time he was so shocked by the loud sound of the door breaking that he almost fell off his chair. Song Qingshu? Tang Qianling stabilized his body with great difficulty. He was about to raise his head and scold Song Qingshu when he saw that the person who had come was the second young master of the Song family, Song Qingshu. Cold sweat immediately broke out on his back and he almost fell off his chair again. Fortunately, Tang Qianqi caught him in time. Tang Qianling straightened his body with a guilty conscience and was just about to ask Song Qingshu why he had come here, when Tang Qianqi's sharp eyes noticed Hongzhu, who was following behind Song Qingshu. He immediately shouted, "Hongzhu, why are you here again? Don't think that we will be afraid just because you brought someone to help us. This is the Tang. Watch. Before he could finish speaking, Tang Chenchi's entire body was sent flying. He let out an anguished howl in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground. Blood bubbled incessantly from his mouth and nose, and his eyes were tightly shut as he lay motionless. It seemed that he had been knocked unconscious. Tang Qianling trembled in fear. He watched as Song Qingshu slowly wiped his hands. Just as he was thinking about how to speak, Song Qingshu's sharp gaze swept over him. Tang Qianling, you're quite capable, aren't you? You actually dared to have your lackeys detain Hongzhu's friend. Have you forgotten the painful beating you received when you were young? It seems that I have to remind you again. Song Qingshu said with a cold expression. Without waiting for Tang Qianling to react, Song Qingshu quickly appeared in front of him in a flash and swung his fist at his face. Bang! Tang Qianling sensed that something was wrong, but it was already too late for him to dodge. He hurriedly circulated his mental cultivation method to resist, but his face still took a solid hit. He could not help but cry out in pain as he was thrown backward along with his chair by the force of the punch. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Not bad. Your reaction is quite fast. You know how to resist now. I would like to see how many attacks you, a mere great perfection martial king, can withstand. Song Qingshu said expressionlessly. Under Hongzhu's dumbstruck gaze, Song Qingshu mercilessly punched and kicked Tang Qianling's body like a sandbag, as if venting all the dissatisfaction and anger in his heart. Stop hitting me. Second young master Song. I know I was wrong. Ouch. Tang Qianling screamed miserably as he raised his hands to defend himself. However, no matter how hard he tried, Song Qingshu's punches and kicks would always accurately land on the areas that he could not defend against. Not long after, his body was covered in injuries and his face was covered in dirt. He looked incomparably miserable. Tang Qianling was on the verge of tears. He resisted in vain. Suddenly, a memory from his childhood surfaced in his mind. Back then, children liked to play together. However, whenever he bullied the disciples of the weaker sects, Song Qingshu would always stand up for them and beat him up, often leaving him with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Strangely, every time he was beaten up, he would complain to the Tang family's patriarch, his grandfather. Not only would his grandfather not stand up for him, he would also harshly reprimand him, telling him not to provoke Song Qingshu in the future. This made Tang Qianling even more depressed. Later on, Tang Qianling learned his lesson and tried not to provoke those who were on good terms with Song Qingshu. Although he did not know the reason why the Tang family's patriarch did not stand up for him, it was better than being beaten up and reprimanded. It was only after he grew up that Tang Qianling vaguely understood that although the Song family of the inner martial arts world was not large, they seemed to have unfathomable strength and an unknown background. Even the Awakening Gate did not dare to provoke them, let alone the Tang family. In the past, some ignorant families had dared to provoke them. However, in the end they did not have a good ending. They either fell apart or declined overnight. However, what was strange was that although the Song family was powerful, they did not expand. They quietly stayed together with the Hong family and a few other small families, forming a small circle of their own. They rarely interacted with other families. Chapter 11:15. Stop putting on an act. This young master is only using ordinary punches and kicks. Otherwise, you would have died a long time ago. Song Qingshu's anger had almost dissipated after being beaten for a while. He rolled his eyes and said angrily, Yes. Thank you for being merciful. Qianling will remember it. Tang Qianling covered his head and face and answered incoherently. He didn't even know what he was talking about. Seeing that Tang Qianling's clothes were dirty and torn, and there were several big bumps on his head, he looked very pitiful. Song Qingshu stopped punching and looked down at him, saying, I'll give you 5 minutes to quickly hand over all the people you've captured. I won't say it again. Who do you want me to hand over? Tang Qianling asked subconsciously with a sad face and a dizzy head. He was so dizzy from the beating earlier that he did not understand who Song Qingshu was talking about. Furthermore, he had yet to fully recover from the injuries from Xiao Chen's beating a few days ago. Now that he was beaten up by Song Qingshu, it made things worse. His entire head was in a mess. However, as soon as Tang Qianling opened his mouth to ask, he felt that something was wrong. He looked up and saw that Song Qingshu's face had darkened, and he had raised his fist again. Tang Qianling was shocked again. His brain was instantly stimulated, and he suddenly remembered that Tang Chenchi had indeed taken a few girls back. Don't hit me. Song Qingshu, I remember now. Those girls. I'll bring them over immediately. I guarantee that none of them will be missing. Please wait here for a while. Tang Qianling shouted and hurriedly stood up, dragging his injured body out. As he walked, Tang Qianling muttered in his heart, "Damn it, let me go out and find helpers. Even if you're from the Song family, you'll still have to bear the consequences." Wait. Tang Qianling had only taken a few steps when Song Qingshu grabbed him. "Did I say you can go?" Song Qingshu grabbed the back of Tang Qianling's neck collar and said coldly, "Let Tang Chenchi bring the hostage. You stay here as a hostage. If he doesn't bring her back by then, for every minute that passes, I'll break one of your arms or legs. Do you hear me?" Yes, I heard it clearly." Tang Qianling felt a chill run down his spine. He shivered and could only dismiss the idea of asking for help. He turned around and saw that Tang Chenchi was still lying there. Second young master Song, Tang Chenchi. Tang Qianling rolled his eyes and wanted to say that since that guy was still unconscious, why not go by himself? What happened to him? "Oh, I forgot to tell you that your 5 minutes have passed by half a minute. I hope your bones can be a little stronger. Don't break with a snap like a twig," Song Qingshu said casually without raising her head. Tang Qianling's throat tightened and he immediately staggered to Tang Chenchi's side. He kicked him hard and shouted, "Don't sleep. Do you think it's comfortable to sleep on the floor? Why don't you hurry up and bring him here? Are you trying to get me killed?" Ouch. Tang Chenchi had actually woken up a long time ago, but the moment he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Qianling being beaten half to death by Song Qingshu. Hong Zhu, who was watching from the side with great interest, was scared out of his wits. He thought to himself that he had provoked a tough guy. Wouldn't he be beaten up again if he got up? The point was that he was the one who ordered those girls to be captured, so he was the main culprit if they really wanted to investigate this matter. How could Tang Chenchi dare to get up rashly? He could only choose to continue lying there and pretend to faint. But now that his master had given the order, he naturally had to follow it as a henchman. Otherwise, if he offended Tang Qianling, he wouldn't have a good ending. Although the wounds on his body were still burning with pain, Tang Chenchi could only pretend that he had just woken up. He endured the pain and stood up, limped out of the room and hurriedly ran to the dungeon. Although Tang Qianling felt that every second in the room felt like a year, he was glad that in less than 3 minutes, Tang Chenchi had brought everyone back. The women looked to be in good condition, and there were no signs of injuries on their bodies. It was obvious that Tang Chenchi hadn't tortured them, but simply imprisoned them. "Huawu, are you okay? Did Tang Qianling do anything to you? Don't be afraid. If you've suffered any grievances, tell me. Second brother definitely won't let them off." When Song Qingshu saw the 3 women enter, he recognized Song Huawu at a glance. His originally cold expression instantly became very warm. He stood up and asked about her well-being as he walked in her direction. When he reached Song Huawu, Song Qingshu stretched out his hand, wanting to take her pulse to check if she had suffered any internal injuries. "Yo, who are you? Don't come over." Song Huawu was stunned. She hurriedly took a few steps back and casually picked up a chair beside her to block in front of her. She stared at Song Qingshu vigilantly, feeling vaguely familiar in her heart. "This person in front of me? Why does he look a little like me?" Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao immediately walked over and leaned close to Song Huawu. They looked at Song Qingshu strangely. Although they felt that Song Qingshu didn't seem to have any evil intentions, they still didn't let their guard down. Song Huawu did not expect Song Huawu to react like this. After a long time, he realized that Song Huawu didn't seem to know him. He immediately felt a little embarrassed. He stretched out one hand in the air, not knowing whether to advance or retreat, and froze. Song Huawu turned her head, glared at Tang Chenchi and reprimanded, "Tang Chenchi, I knew you didn't have any good intentions. You said you would let us go, but in the end you brought us here. What tricks are you up to now?" Hong Zhu, who was standing aside, was also stunned. He didn't understand why Song Huawu was so agitated, nor did he understand why Song Huawu acted as if she didn't know him. Judging from Song Qingshu's tone, they should be very familiar with each other. However, seeing the current situation, Hong Zhu still explained, "Huawu, this is the second young master of the Song family. He heard that you were in trouble, so he came with me to rescue you." "I'm sorry, Huawu, I was too impolite." Song Qingshu took the opportunity to withdraw his hand, touched his nose, stopped, and said apologetically, "I forgot to introduce myself first. I'm Song Qing-shu from the Song family of the Eternal Wulin, and I'm your second elder brother. But it's a long story. When we go back, I'll slowly tell you the ins and outs of the story. Hearing this, everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Tang Qianling and Tang Qianqi looked at each other in disbelief. How did Song Qing-shu become Song Huawu's second elder brother? They had never heard that the Song family had such a beautiful daughter of the third generation. However, Song Qing-shu didn't seem to be pretending. What on earth was going on? Chapter 11:16. Tang Qianqi's face was even more colorful. His face turned green and white like a kaleidoscope. He kept wailing in his heart. I'm doomed. Song Huawu is Song Qingshu's younger sister. He had actually captured her. This time his little life could not be guaranteed. Jean Beibei and the other girls were also full of question marks. Hongzhu was the most surprised. He had been to the Song family often, but he had never heard that Song Qingshu had a younger sister. But when he looked carefully, he found that the two of them did look a little similar. Song Huawu was the one who was most shocked. Her mouth was slightly open and she looked stunned. She did not even know when the chair had slipped from her hand. Her mind was in a mess. Song Billion had told her that she was an orphan since she was a child. How could she suddenly become a relative of a martial arts practitioner? And they seemed to be very powerful people. This is not a good place to talk. Let's leave first. Song Qingshu completely ignored the strange looks of the people around her. She turned around and glanced at Tang Qianling as if she were looking at a dead man. She said sarcastically, Master Ling, I'm going to take all of them away now. You won't have any objection, will you? No, of course not. We're really in a bad mood. We don't know each other. Tang Qianling still wanted to make friends with her, but when he saw Song Qingshu's glare, he immediately changed the topic and said, I didn't know the situation before, but now that I know that Miss Song is your younger sister, it's only natural that you take her away. Her friends will also go with her, right? Do you want me to ask someone to send you back to the Song family? Tang Qianling's smile was extremely forced. He hoped that Song Qingshu would leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would not be able to stand it if she caused more trouble. Song Qingshu snorted disdainfully and ignored his proposal. She directly left Tang Qianling's residence with the girls. She walked through the Tang family's residence deftly as if there was no one around. She did not even run into a single guard and walked out of the back door smoothly. Tang Qianling heaved a huge sigh of relief after making sure that Song Qingshu, the malefic Song Qingshu, had gone far away. He couldn't help but feel furious when he recalled all the bad things that had happened to him recently. When he saw Tang Qianqi standing beside him, he raised his hand and gave him a slap, reprimanding him harshly. If it weren't for the fact that he was still injured, Tang Qianling would have beaten him up. Tang Qianqi was just rejoicing that Song Qingshu didn't have time to punish him before Tang Qianling slapped him so hard that he saw stars. However, in order to continue hugging Tang Qianling's thigh in the future, he could only swallow his anger and obediently listen to the scolding. He didn't even dare to wipe the spittle that splashed on his face. After Tang Qianling was done scolding him, Tang Qianqi obediently brought out medicinal pills to treat his injuries. He also found a few maids to serve him, not daring to complain. Song Qingshu, you just said that Song Huawu is your sister. What's going on? After Song Qingshu and the others safely returned to the Hong family, Hongzhu saw that Song Qingshu had no intention of leaving and was still standing there. Song Huawu also seemed to be too embarrassed to say anything, so he took the initiative to ask. What do you mean, what's going on? Huawu is indeed my sister. Song Qingshu had a matter-of-fact expression on his face, as if this matter should be known to everyone. But I've never heard you mention it before. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to her, so you deliberately said that? Hongzhu pursed his lips and reminded him, Don't blame me for not telling you, but Huawu has a boyfriend. You'd better give up on that idea. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I have taken a fancy to my sister? I've never mentioned it before because it's a long story, and I can't explain it clearly in a short time, but... Song Qingshu suddenly stopped, and the expression on his face became much more serious. He turned to look at Song Huawu and asked, You have a boyfriend? Song Huawu was startled. Although she was a little uncomfortable with Song Qingshu's serious expression, she still nodded. Song Qingshu immediately frowned and asked, Who is your boyfriend? Which sect is he from? What's his name? How strong is he? Is he stronger than me, your second brother? Has he bullied you before? Has he mistreated you in any way? Song Huawu looked at Song Qingshu with a surprised look on her face. He had asked a lot of questions in one breath, and Hongzhu rolled his eyes as he listened to him. He even regretted bringing up this matter. The other women also looked at Song Qingshu with disdain. They couldn't figure out why a grown man like him would be so long-winded. My cousin-in-law is awesome. He's the handsome and rich second generation of the Xiao family, and he can even perform magic. Jean Beibei pursed her lips and retorted loudly. Although she did not know Song Qingshu's identity, this guy was too arrogant, wasn't he? He actually compared Xiao Qian with himself. The Xiao family? Song Qingshu carefully recalled and shook his head. I've never heard of such a family in the martial arts circle. Handsome and rich? What's the use of being handsome and rich? He can't even protect his girlfriend. Magic tricks? Does he think that he can match up to my sister with this kind of small tricks? He's too naive. Jean Beibei's fury was immediately ignited. Glaring at Song Qingshu, she waved her fists and shouted, "Don't be too arrogant. If my cousin-in-law learns that you dare to hit on Sister Huawu, he will definitely come here and beat you up." With disdain on his face, Song Qingshu sneered. Fine. Just let him come to me. At that time, I want to see who is the one who will beat the other up. Beibei, don't talk nonsense. Xiao Qian is not so barbaric as to pick a fight with other people. Song Huawu comforted Jean Beibei first. Then she turned around and looked at Song Qingshu. Her face immediately turned cold. She had felt quite close to Song Qingshu before, but the guy's words had touched her sore spot. Her fondness for him immediately plummeted. She bowed to him and said casually, "Mr. Song, thank you for saving my life, but I'm just an ordinary person in the secular world. I don't think I'm related to you at all. I think you might have mistaken me for someone else." "Sister, why are you so polite to me?" Seeing the disgust on Song Huawu's face, Song Qingshu thought that she was unwilling to admit their blood relationship. He hurried to explain, but Song Huawu interrupted him before he opened his mouth. Song Huawu was even more annoyed that Song Qingshu kept calling her sister. She said stiffly, "Mr. Song, Xiao Qian and I are in love with each other. I don't think I need to report it to you." "Xiao Qian? The Xiao family? My God. Are you talking about the descendant of the Xiao family in the secular world? How can you do that?" Song Qingshu suddenly recalled that Song Bilian had once reported to him about the entanglement between Xiao Qian and Huawu. At that time he did not pay much attention to it, but now he knew that it was true. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.